Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. David, what's up? How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hello. David just had like very strange things going on, so he had to shut things down and come back on. Do you think it's fixed now?
I have no idea because I'd never seen that before.
That's weird. It's weird.
Oh, that was one of multiple things. So,
Huh.
my kid earlier, as I mentioned, ran out with his swim trunks and just left, and it was pouring rain. So I was making sure he wasn't in the mud, but yeah, he was in the neighbor's pool. He knows how to swim, so I guess he's fine.
I guess he's fine.
Yeah, he's out in the pool, so
All
I
right.
wanna make sure he wasn't playing in a drain or a gutter or something like that. Anyway,
That's true. All right, man. Welcome everybody to today's show. Today we want to review some really good stuff. Really good stuff. David, have
Yep.
you heard of Candace Owens? Elle says the world's okayest parent.
Yeah, that's true. Is she the chick who always defends Andrew Tate?
Yeah.
Every sicko pervert who comes along, she's like the biggest defender.
Yeah.
Unless it's a woman who's doing something messed up, and then she's like quick to condemn.
And then she also she hates all Jews except Harvey Weinstein.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
What's
She
wrong
hates
with
all
this?
Jews unless you're some sort of sex trafficker or something like that. Then she loves you. Just a weird lady, man. A weird chick.
He will attack Jews over random things and spread all kinds of messed up conspiracy theories without a single shred of evidence. And then she actually starts a whole series about defending Harvey Weinstein as being wrongfully defamed and persecuted and all that. It's so wild, man. What a strange person.
It is. It'll be like everything that I've seen from her has been like, hey, this guy who did this horrible thing knows a person who knows a person who knows a person who knows a person who knows a Jew. So you see, it's a Jewish plot. Like everything is like that. But then if it's, hey, there's a bunch of people accusing this guy of doing this and this and this and this and that and sex trafficking and raping and everything else, and it's, no, how dare you? He's innocent.
You see. Yeah, so there is some really weird stuff going on, but I was actually very glad to see Steven Crowder. And in the past I didn't really watch much of his stuff, and I also thought much of it I really didn't like. I didn't like his attitude. I still have some of my problems and my reservations about him. However, I have seen some good stuff from him. It's like, for example, those skits, that he makes about that he made about Islam in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Certain speeches that he gave and certain rants that he had, and recently, how he chimed in on the whole Israel thing and how he just brutally took down Candace Owens. And I love it, man. I love it, and I want to go through all of that in very great detail.
So I don't like this guy unless he's saying something I agree with, and then he's my best friend. No, yeah. Crowder's one of the OGs, so he's been doing this a while, and he started off doing like skits and stuff like that, and they were hilarious. He's really good at it, and then at some point he got into the doing long shows, and stuck with that.
David, do you think I was kind of wondering if today we're going to review the whole debate yesterday about whether Christians and Muslims worship the same God. Then I thought this might actually be something that we might want to do on your channel. I wanted to leave that to you. So I think
we're gonna check. We'll check that out on my channel. I still have to. I'm gonna check out some of the debate tonight. But someone messaged me and said, "Can you cover it?" They said these guys are debating, but they're using philosophical and theological terms that people don't understand, and they're just tossing them around because they all understand them, but the viewers don't understand them. And so, philosophical terms I should be good on, but we'll probably get Anthony. Anthony's a theologian. We'll get Anthony on to break down any theological terms, unless I watch this tonight and I decide there are none.
You're going to bring Anthony on?
Anthony knows his theological concepts. If these guys use some theological terminology, if they use sophisticated theological terminology that people don't understand and that I don't understand, then I will get someone on who understands this advanced theological terminology.
I only saw this part here, and people are sharing that, and I think it's pretty weird. But I also don't necessarily agree with the framing that it's just this guy Trent being.
This is also the only part that I've seen.
Yeah. So there's a lot of discussion going on.
Now, hang on.
What?
Who's Trent? Is Trent Doherty the guy up in the left-hand corner?
Yeah.
Dude, that's the thing. You don't know how weird this is to see him acting like this. I mean, I've never seen how he acts, period. But I used to read Trent Doherty, his philosophical essay. He wrote about, like, my doctoral dissertation was a response to Paul Draper. He wrote an awesome article about an awesome essay on Paul Draper and stuff. So I think of, when I hear Trent Doherty, it's like, oh, this seriously academic dude. And here it's just like, come on and fight me, bro. Come on and fight me. I'm like, wait, that's Trent Doherty.
It's so weird because I only saw this bit, and it just gets very strange. So there's a long exchange of, how about this, you stupid, you don't know, and so on.
Why would that follow?
Why not? What the hell are you talking
because
about?
Because Islam
dude?
is predicated on rejecting the triad.
So what? This is a non sequitur. They can refer to the triune God without knowing that God is triune, just as Lois Lane can refer to Clark Kent not knowing he can fly. When Lois Lane says
the religion
is a weakling, she's referring.
So this is how it continues, and then it gets to him showing texts to talk about what they agreed to debate, and then it gets really out of hand after a while.
Would you be willing to travel to Texas if I paid for it?
No, I'm not going anywhere near your ass. Are you serious?
Do you have any boxing experience or
so you want to
mixed
fight?
martial arts?
Let's not just arguments.
You got any fight? You got any fight skills, bro?
Look in the DMs. The DMs I asked specifically.
It's so weird, man.
that was like weird, right? Like, come at me, bro. And I mean physically come at me with your fists. That's weird.
It's a very, so I see the general consensus seems to be that this was a very that this was not a good debate. That's the consensus that I'm seeing.
We will judge that tomorrow.
I see the general response being that it was very shameful overall, but I'm really curious what happened there, because I'm actually curious about the arguments made, because I want to see what happened here. But
yeah, if the conclusion is get on a plane and come fight me, bro, then must have been and like I understand you guys disagree, but like, how does it get to come fight me, come get punched in the face by me? Isn't that weird? It's kind of I have to say, it's kind of a weird argument. It's like if you find a tribe and you say, hey, they worship this Sharpie, and they all sit around bowing down to this Sharpie and saying, oh, hail the Sharpie, and you say, see, that's the same God we worship. And you go, what are you talking about? Oh, we don't worship a Sharpie. And say, oh, but they may be wrong about the Sharpie and still be right that they're worshiping. It's like, what are you trying to prove here, man? I don't know. So I'm guessing I'm going to be on Jay's side of that debate, but we'll see. Maybe these guys have some awesome point I'm not aware of.
This is one of the reasons that I actually thought initially, as I was looking into Catholicism, that there's really something about Catholicism that I find very difficult to accept.
That's why we all stick with the Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance. No, none of this popery, papistry, pastries, none of that stuff here. Just pure Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance.
I still think Catholicism has a lot of great, beautiful stuff.
Nice try. No saving that one. You just said it. You said, as soon as I looked at Catholicism, I started vomiting.
And has like great contributions to Western civilization. I think is actually one of the main driving forces behind the building of Western civilization and all that. But some of these things, are really, really, really problematic, man. Really, really problematic. Really problematic. Really, really problematic. All right, let's see. Let's see. David, are you ready to have a look at Steven Crowder versus Candace Owens.
You see how the Jews are dividing everyone? Now that they're dividing the conservatives.
Trick Kunio says, hilariously, Crowder baited the gropers for weeks by being anti-APAC and making them think he was on their side. He just hates them funding Democrats too. That's funny.
Let's see. Crowder baited the gropers for weeks by being anti-APAC and making them think he was on their side. He just hates them funding Dems too.
Powerful. Yeah, I see this discussion a lot. Many Catholics like Jewish people, but Candace Owens is just not a good person. I see some people think, or some people associate her anti-Semitism with her Catholicism. I must say, Catholicism has nothing to do with it. I would say, or very little to do with it. Most Catholics don't have any anti-Jewish attitudes. The Catholic Church doesn't have any anti-Jewish attitudes. The Catholic Church is actually very explicit on condemning any injustices or hate or anything against Jews. It is more of a Candace Owens thing than a Vatican or Catholic thing. That's what.
Hey, I'm wondering, is there like a? Because there are like subgroups within Catholicism. I'm just wondering, is like, could she be in some subgroup that like her husband is in and they don't like Jews and then she jumps on board with that? Or is this just a Candace thing?
Well, here is the thing. For the longest time, I thought, and I also said on live streams, for example, that Candace Owens is part of a sede vacantist group, so a group that doesn't recognize the authority of the current popes and basically considers the popes as heretics.
What?
And considers the seat empty, the Vatican.
What's the point of being a Catholic if you're not signing up for the popery?
That's what I thought. Because I was actually told this as well by certain Vatican correspondents, by a high profile Catholics on a Twitter space. But then I recently saw that she actually made a post. She barely ever talks about the Pope, but I did see that she made a post when the new Pope was elected, where she posted, "We have a new Pope." And it seems to me that she was recognizing there the Pope, So I'm not entirely sure what she is. So, but she seems to be among one of those hyper traditionalist Catholic sects that actually reject the current Pope or something like that. I don't know. I cannot tell. But anyway, let's take a few super chats here. Do you know what that smells like? Valencia Gabe, AP, when you played the whistle, my cat came over to see where it came from. He's never done that before for anything. You are truly a cat human. You see, this is the proof that I'm a cat human. Holy Joe, why haven't the men of Al Zut been canonized as saints yet? Because we're not perverts. Holy Joe, would it be racist to say Candace has been whipped and humiliated? We will see. We will wait with our judgment until we see what happens to her in this entire conversation here. But yes, it is racist. Ned Flanders says, I can't think of anything to say, but I wanted to send you $5. Thank you. I appreciate that very, very much. But it's actually $4.99. Thank you.
Hey, speaking of racists, you saw the stuff about your boy Zohran Mamdani, where people are like, where everyone now is like, wait a minute. So this guy wants to ban all guns, defund the police, empty the prisons and jails. And you think this is going to work in addition to free buses, free childcare for all, everything paid for by taxing the rich. This always 100% of the time ends in disaster anytime anyone goes for it. And whenever anyone said that, how did Rashida Tlaib and everyone respond? This is racist. You're a racist if you do not agree with everything he says.
And look at this, by the way. Speaking of racism, I saw that he has this post up. This is from 2021. He's the one who posted the face when the last majority white assembly district in Queens is represented by this guy. I mean, I'm not one to talk about things like these.
Yeah, because you're Turkish.
But I must say, it kind of makes me angry. Huh? Here you have a guy who is in the West, who is in an American city, and lives with the legacy, the heritage of these white people, and then also serves in places that are occupied or that are populated by white people. Instead of appreciating that, instead of saying thank you, he actually starts mocking white people and also spreading hate against white people, because that's accepted. It's acceptable in the West.
Yeah, I didn't.
Where is your thank you?
Yeah, I didn't see what he said, but I saw it. New York posted that he says he's going to raise taxes on white people or something like that. It's kind of funny. Anyway, dude's funny. Anyway, so it's funny that this guy can have like the most insane policies there are, and if you say one word of criticism, you're racist. AP, you need to start pulling that card, man. You need to start talking. I've already seen you starting your post off with, as an ex-Muslim, but you need to say some of the like most insanely outrageous things you can. And the moment anyone responds, you go, look at them attacking me. It's because I'm Turkish and they're racist against Turks. They're racist against Middle Easterners like me.
You see, that's what they're doing right here. I actually saw this earlier. Let me see. Oh yeah, right here. What you just mentioned. Here it is. So Curtis Sliwa, who is the other candidate for the Republicans, who I think should step back because I don't think he has any chance.
Yeah, also needs to get rid of that stupid beret. It doesn't look cool, man.
But he actually posted this. Here's from Zohran Mamdani's campaign for New York City. Shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and
there you have
whiter
whiter neighborhoods. This is, we're going to increase taxes based on the whiteness of your skin. They would have taxed the crap out of Muhammad, man.
Race-based politics, right here. Race-based taxing. Shift the burden on white neighborhoods.
Yeah, so you just go and so even if it's like a wealthy neighborhood, if you go and you look in that wealthy neighborhood and you're like, oh, it's a bunch of see, we got some black people here. Okay, let's find another neighborhood. Over here it's white people. Let's tax the crap out of them.
On whiter neighborhoods. Whiter neighborhoods. Oh, don't worry, guys. It's just whiter. He just wants to burden the white people, not the other people, not the other, groups. That would be racist. Not that would be racist. Only the white ones. That's not.
But it's funny because as we've seen, it's the white people who are voting for him.
Yeah, because they're stupid. Because white people are stupid. All right.
I would strongly object to what you're saying, but it would be racist because you're Turk.
Yeah, I can say that. We can say whatever you want about white people. All right. Let's have a look at this. Let's
go through the examples. Candace Owens said over and over again that President Trump would send you to die for Israel, for the Jews.
He did.
I'm reading her actual ex-post. Get ready, white American men. It's time for you to go die for Israel again. If you don't want to die for Israel, then you are an anti-Semite. Sign up to die in Iran for Netanyahu today, or just admit you hate Jews. Here's another one. They tried.
Let's have a look at that for a second here.
It is pretty nuts, right? And look, this is a response to Haaretz, the most insanely anti-Israeli newspaper. That's
the funny thing about this, right? People like Candace Owens, she will fume and go crazy if a media site or a newspaper in the West that is very much anti her values reports things. But the first pick that she goes for in Israeli media is Haaretz, which is the very anti-Israel media. This is the buy. With this, you're showing just that to you, you don't really have a problem with the media being biased. You don't really have a problem with the media being anti-conservative values. You don't have a problem with any of these things. You just have a problem with the bias being directed against you. Like this is like going for something worse than CNN, actually. She just directly goes for the Israeli media that is the most anti-Israel. And you know why that's possible in Israel? Because Israel is actually a free country.
Yeah, it's weird. How are they not destroyed by Mossad for exposing them? But hey, even look at what Candace says here. Get ready, white American men. Would it just be white American men? Would the military say? Would Donald Trump say, we need a bunch of people to go die in Iran? Let's round up all the white people so they could go die for Israel. Netanyahu says he wants a bunch of white Americans. Like, is there like seriously? So one, this is like insane on multiple levels. One, she thinks that we're all talking about like invading Iran and not just dropping bombs and stuff like that. But no, the United States is going to actually send an army into Iran at the request of Netanyahu. So that's what she's thinking. But she either thinks, and I think it's the latter, but she either thinks that they're just going to send white men, they're just going to send white soldiers, or she thinks those are the only ones worth pointing out. Like that's the only time it's a shame. So, oh yeah, if we send in a bunch of Latino, black soldier, yeah, who cares about that? But I want you to know it's even going to be white people. Like, why would that be what you focus on? That they're going to be white people die? Like, why would that be your concern, Candace? And then, of course, it's time for you to go die for Israel again. You say, when did we die for Israel? When have we been dying for Israel? It's funny when you ask that, they say, Netanyahu, even before he was in power, at some point said he supports the invasion of Iraq, even though everyone else was against it. He was for it. And so you see that was all for him. It was all for him. It was because Netanyahu, who wasn't even in power at the time, was in favor of an invasion of that means everyone who died in Iraq, that was for Netanyahu, because he said, isn't it weird? Like anything that has anything to do with any Jew ever becomes this giant Jewish conspiracy in her mind. Dude, it's seriously like the dancing Jews things, right? Like, oh, see, there's some Jews dance. You see, conspiracy by these. How does that become attached to everything? How would that become attached to everyone? If you saw Arabs dancing over there, would you say, see, therefore it's a plot by Saudi Arabia? Like would that jump into your head? No, there's just one group. There's one group that if any member of that group is involved in anything, it's the entire group. And if anyone in that group in all of history said something, like a rabbi or something like that, then you can say, see, this is what this group adheres to. It's very interesting stuff, man.
You see. This is a current trend. She's probably, she's probably being paid for this kind of stuff, or she does it to appeal to a certain audience. I mean, just the fact that she says, "Get ready, white American men." This is a very clear indication, a very clear signal to those people who are out there proclaiming that there is some white genocide going on, that they're trying to target specifically white people and so on. This is what she's trying to appeal to, but none of this has anything to do with white people.
Yeah, that's the thing. She just tossed it in there because she knows that's like her entire audience. Yeah. That's funny.
It'll be lots of black people who go to war if there is a war.
That's what I mean. It's if you look at the military is pretty darn diverse. The military is pretty darn diverse. There's no scenario where they just send a bunch of white people. So it's like you're saying white people are the only people that matter.
But the black people, they have a white heart.
Yeah, here we go. We have Appalachian Lumberjack says David Wood is an idiot. Well, it's your lucky day, Appalachian Lumberjack. I'm going to give you one shot. You only get one shot. You get one shot, one opportunity to tell me why I'm an idiot. Break it down for us.
You see. You see.
You can go ahead, AP. I'll wait for Appalachian Lumberjack to explain his airtight reasoning.
Come on, go ahead. Go ahead. Come on, then.
This means bring forth your best point, man. Your best point.
Come on, then. Come on.
Your best point, man. I know you got so many because you don't just toss around stuff like that.
This is kind of a funny graph that that somebody made to mark this whole idea that there is this big agenda against for Israel and against the pro-Palestinian thing going on. Anti-Israel lobby versus pro-Israel lobby. All they ever mention, all they ever talk about is AIPAC. And then you have the pro-Palestine lobby, the anti-Israel lobby, which is full of organizations, including, by the way, bought Jewish Voice for Peace, progressive leftist Jewish organizations, and things like that. Where do you have something like that? You have all these organizations brutally, violently attacking Israel day and night. It's just incredible.
No, seriously, that's along the same lines of what I was just pointing out. You'll have all these organizations blasting away at Israel and calling on politicians to join them. And you've got politicians, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and AOC, who really, really hate Israel and so on. And people think that's totally fine. And yet, the moment you've got one group that says, guys, could you not hate Jews? You see, Jews control the entire world, especially America.
So here's Appalachian Lumberjack just responded and said,
it's literally already been admitted by the government through documents that have been declassified that the dancing Israelis were absolutely related to 9/11.
Really? Where's that, AP?
Appalachian Lumberjack, it has never been admitted. I have actually looked through all the documents that have been declassified about the case. And here is the thing. On 9/11, on that day, a woman reported that there were suspicious-looking men on top of their white van, looking and taking photos, and they seemed to be happy. That's what she said. The dancing, by the way, was never ever brought into this. The dancing was completely made up later on. So this is what was claimed. The police came, searched their van, arrested them, took them in. They were immediately identified as people who are on with wrong papers, with expired papers, expired permissions in the United States, with expired work permits, and that they are construction workers who are not allowed to be here. They have overstayed their stay officially. Here is the funny thing, Appalachian Lumberjack. Do you really think, are you really that freaking stupid that you actually think that this genius mastermind country, Israel, will send in people who do a dirty undercover job for them, and Israel actually sends them in with expired papers? Are you freaking serious, man? Are you serious? I mean, are you that retarded? I don't really understand this. Like, on the one hand, these guys go out acting as if these Israelis, as if Israel is this evil genius mastermind, and then they actually think they would send in these agents to carry out a genius job, but they actually don't give them proper papers for their stay. This is the first thing that any agency, that any intelligence would take care of before sending people in. Okay.
And AP, like, how does people's like reasoning ability like shut off to this extent? Like, okay, you have this brilliant plot, so brilliant that they're orchestrating the entire thing, putting bombs in the building, making it look like planes are crashing, but it's just to be a show, and so they pull all of this off. And the one slip up is, hey, let's send some guys to dance and record over there. Yeah. That's part of our. Oh no, they caught our guys over there dancing and filming. Oh, and where did it get reported? Haaretz.
That's sad. So this is one detail. Here is where we continue. The FBI actually took them in and started questioning them. What the FBI said in their declassified documents, and you will know this if you have a little ounce of honesty. If you have actually looked at those documents, you will know one detail, which is, according to their admissions, they knew on the day of their arrest that means on September 11th, that these guys had no prior knowledge or any connection whatsoever to the events that unfolded on 9/11.
Does say it right here in the according to the FBI. But what will you say? That's because Netanyahu controls the FBI. So this is the idiot thing. It's already it's been declassified in the proof. What?
These are declassified, in fact, declassified individual private admissions from FBI personnel later on, saying that on the day of 9/11, they knew for a fact, almost immediately after their arrest, that these guys have nothing to do with the events of 9/11. That they were, however, kept for extended periods of time because there were suspicions that they had something else going on. And they did actually have some suspicions that they might be connected to Israeli intelligence and that they might be here to oversee something completely unrelated, such as oversee certain pro-Palestinian terrorist communities and things like that. So this is what they were suspecting. Eventually, nobody came to any conclusion that these guys are in any way related to Israeli intelligence, although with one of those individuals, they still thought there's something shady about that guy, but we don't know. So these are the admissions according to the documents. Eventually, they are all released and deported back to Israel. Once they arrive in Israel, they go on TV and they actually participate in an online interview where they talk about how, or on a live interview, on a TV interview, where they talk about how crazy the whole situation was and say that they were just there. They saw these things happening. They were there and they stopped to take photos and to document what's happening. Conspiracy theorists, because of this statement, took that out of context and started telling people that they admitted on live TV that they were there to document what is going on behalf of Israeli intelligence.
Yeah, why would you need to like every camera in all of New York City is going to be pointing at it? Why do you need to be over there? Yeah, let's dance over here. Let's dance like it's Hanukkah. What a bunch of idiots. This is what I mean. Like, they think, they were really trying to cover up their involvement, but they were dancing and filming. So you see, we caught them and we figured this out. And the other thing these dopes do is they'll say, yes, this has all been declassified, because they're counting on people not being like, it's like Islam's 99-1 rule. They all spread this around. Oh, yes, it's in declassified documents. It's all been confirmed, because they're all too stupid to actually look anything up, and they'll all just take each other's word for it. Hey, I asked for an AI overview of all the documents and so on. It says the dancing Israelis refers to a conspiracy theory about 5 Israelis who were allegedly celebrating the September 11th attacks. These individuals were arrested on 9/11 after being seen filming the smoking skyline from a van. The incident was later used to fuel conspiracy theories about Israeli involvement in the attack. Yeah, think about this. If you saw any van with anyone else in the world, would you jump to the conclusion that there's a conspiracy of that person, that group's government?
No, because they're probably tied to the Jews.
The conspiracy theories surrounding the dancing Israelis are anti-Semitic and claim that the Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency, was behind the attacks. And they were so smart. They were smart in every way. The guys who can literally put bombs in pagers just didn't think maybe we shouldn't have guys dancing over there while filming. But they screwed up. They made the classic Jewish blunder. These theories often allege that the Israelis were directing the attacks and began celebrating. Oh, we pulled it off. Yay, let's dance. Maybe we shouldn't dance. People might see us. No one's going to see us dancing. Let's just dance. Well, when they realized their false flag operation had been successful. The theory also suggests that certain Jewish individuals in the Bush administration collaborated with the Mossad to orchestrate the attacks. Hey, coincidence? There are Jews in the U.S. government and there are Jews dancing. Coincidence? Whoa. They must be working together. However, there is no evidence to support these claims, and they are widely considered to be anti-Semitic tropes. The dancing Israelis incident is often cited as proof in these conspiracy theories, with proponents claiming they were arrested for celebrating while filming the attacks. In reality, the FBI did arrest 5 Israelis, but they were apprehended for suspicious behavior and were later released. The incident has been thoroughly investigated, and there is no credible evidence to support any connection between the individuals and the attacks. What is Appalachian Lumberjack? Oh, but it's all been admitted in the secret documents that have been leaked that the dancing Israelis were behind it. Dude, you had one shot, man. You had one shot. I gave you a shot to bring forth your best example of why we're just idiots and we don't know what we're talking about. And basically you came up with the dumbest thing you could have possibly said.
The Jews want you to think that the Jews actually changed those reports.
They changed the reports because they control the FBI.
The FBI kept them there for a long, long time, despite the Jews controlling the FBI.
Don't be
These are your fans, Candace. These are your fans. And Candace is going,
Oh, what a great point.
Also, by the way,
the Jews did lose control and start dancing.
By the way, there were multiple people arrested on 9/11. There were thousands of people arrested after 9/11.
Anyone with suspicious behavior was arrested on 9/11.
How many people do you ever hear of who were arrested? You always hear of the same little
I hear of
group
5.
people.
I hear of 5. I only hear of 5 people who are arrested. That's even though tons of people were arrested, and Muslims to this day still complain about Muslims being arrested, saying, "Hey, it was racist against Muslims. They're just locking up Muslims and stuff." But the only people you'll ever hear about are these 5.
You see, the Great 5. Anyway, let's continue. Get ready, white American men. It's time for you to go die for Israel again. Nobody ever went to war. America never went to war for Israel. This keeps being said.
But there was the war in Iraq.
Mention one war that was actually fought for Israel. Mention one war where Americans actually went to fight for and die for Israel. Never happened.
Netanyahu made us do it. He said, "You said you will do what I say."
The main driving force behind the Iraq war was America. The Israeli response to the aftermath of the Iraq war was actually that America unfortunately took out the wrong target, because the actual target in the region that is dangerous is the Iranian regime.
That's what Israel was saying. Iran is the problem. Why are you guys messing around with Iraq? They're the ones who are behind everything.
Yeah.
Iran is the one who's behind everything.
Yeah. Anyway,
but they only said that to trick us, and they were like, "No, we won't do what the Jews say. We'll go invade Iraq instead." And the Jews were like, "Yes, that's what we wanted you to do. Ah, let's go dance."
If you don't want to die for Israel, then you are an anti-Semite. Sign up to die in Iran for Netanyahu today, or just admit you hate Jews. Here's another one. They tried to redefine anti-Semitism, criminalize criticism of Israel on college campuses. Not true.
I'm so glad that Steven Crowder actually knows what he's talking about on this topic. Do you remember we'd seen so many people say they're trying to make it illegal to criticize Israel in college campuses?
Yeah, and they all just run with this.
Yes.
You remember that, guys?
You remember that? Completely wrong.
Yeah, and she still says this completely debunked. Guys, by the way, we periodically follow something that Candace said when it was like trending or something, when it was important over the other than that. I haven't been following Candace. I watched her documentary and so on. Like, part of it was good and the rest of it sucked. But like issues like this, where you just flat out say something that's false and you keep saying it, and then even like months and years later, you'll still be saying the exact same completely false thing. Do not ask me to take you seriously. Do not ask me to take you seriously after this. So, guys, if you don't know what she's talking about, Candace Owens was one of the ones saying the Jews are making it illegal to criticize Israel on college campuses. You're not allowed to criticize anything Israel does or anything any Jew does. They're making it illegal. They're going to send you to prison. They're going to send white people to prison. Imagine that. White people. We actually covered this when it was coming, and everyone was in an uproar because lots of people were saying it. They're making it illegal to criticize Israel on campuses.
Never happened.
No, they made it so that if Jewish students are being treated terribly, like being blocked from going into their building and so on, and the university is informed that people are actually persecuting Jewish students for being Jewish, and you do not intervene to protect the student who is being persecuted and harassed, the federal government can withhold federal funding from you, from your university. That's what it was. If you are not protecting Jewish students as you would protect any other student, then we're not giving you federal funding because you've got a racist system in place. That's what it was. How does this get represented? Jews manipulated the U.S. government into sending white kids to prison for criticizing Israel. Freaking lying, idiot clown.
Before we continue this, I actually want to bring up something that is going around and trending today. Many people may have seen this. Where in the UK, in where is that, Glastonbury Festival, some really, really messed up stuff is happening. Where an artist or a duo, a group, who call themselves Bob Villain, go around and start saying really, really messed up things. So, breaking: major scandal at the Glastonbury Festival in England. Death to the IDF was chanted from the stage by Bob Villain in front of 200,000 people. Tens of thousands chanted along. The entire thing was broadcast live by the BBC to millions of people. Loads of Palestinian and Hezbollah flags were seen in the audience. This is how Islamist radicalism is being spread in the West by the progressive movement, and how their hateful rhetoric led to often deadly attacks against Jews and Israelis in Europe. Let's have a look at this. So here is this artist who, I mean, it's probably difficult to call him artist, but let's see.
Free! Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF!
Hey, did that say Bob Villain? That's kind of funny.
From the river to the sea, Palestine.
Bob Villain's funny.
Inshallah.
That's a funny name, though, Bob Villain.
Well, the funny thing about Bob Villain is that it is based on, obviously, Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan is a Zionist Jew.
He also made one of the top 5 awesome songs of all time.
So imagine you actually achieve your fame by naming yourself after a Zionist Jew, and then becoming an anti-Jewish, an anti-Israeli, anti-Jewish activist who also talks trash about Zionists at this concert, and actually says death to the IDF. I want to quickly expand on what death to the IDF would entail. Everybody in Israel serves in the IDF. I know we are in America. We are in a country. In many other places in the West, we are usually in countries where everybody is not where serving in the military is not compulsory, where you can choose between military service or some civil service, where you can join the military to get some money. In Israel, everyone serves in the IDF. Funnily enough, the only people exempt from serving are actually the Arabs, but the others are serving in the IDF. So every single Israeli person is normally subject to serving in the IDF, and anyone who therefore is part of the IDF at some point or another is usually seen by people like these as somebody worthy of being attacked, lynched, or even killed. So any Israeli person who has any background in the IDF, if they travel around, would probably be seen as a legitimate target by these people to go and to be killed, to be attacked, to be lynched. This is basically what this guy is advocating for here. I hope he gets in legal trouble, considering that this is England and stuff like this, as incitement like this is actually legally punishable. If they don't do it, then they are hypocrites, because they have recently been punishing people for saying very, very mild things. But anyway, so this is happening at a music festival. The other messed up part about this is that, of course, at a music festival in England, you can come and do stuff like this. You can talk about Zionists. He also talked about I used to work for a Zionist in it. So you can talk trash about Zionists, by which you are basically alienating the majority of Jews and making them feel attacked as well. So this is not just an attack at Israel or Zionism. It is an attack against Jews and their supporters. That's what it is. But the very ironic part about this is that this guy comes to this guy goes to a music festival where he talks trash about Jews and Israel. Meanwhile, a music festival in Israel on October 7 was where Hamas started their brutal attack and killed nearly 400 people. They massacred nearly 400 people for going to a music festival. If this festival took place in Israel on October 7, Hamas would go and want to massacre them all. This is how sick these people are. Absolutely sick, absolutely disgusting. Horrible, horrible rat individuals. Anyway, let's get back to the topic.
Most crucially, seed the idea that the declaration of Christ as our king amounted to hatred against Jews. Also not accurate.
Never happened. But I'll let him finish, and then I want to go to every single claim that is made here, one by one.
All of this was done in preparation for the Greater Israel agenda, regarding which they attempted to emotionally manipulate Americans to accept. The conspiracy theorists were right again. It was always about a planned war with Iran and a doomed, heretical belief that mass slaughter of women and children is messianic. Let me read that again. It was always about a planned war. Where's the planned war?
It's all part of the plan.
Yeah. This wasn't presented as an opinion. This was presented to you as fact. And I had many people going, this is clearly a planned war for Israel. That's clearly what Donald Trump is doing. He's trying to get us in. Is that what you're seeing? If it's not what you're seeing, this was dishonest. Here's another one. Our foreign policy is dictated by Israel. They don't know what they're doing. That seems like it's dictated by Israel.
That's part of the plan.
Yeah.
Deception.
Trump will continue to do as he is told by Netanyahu. Don't drop the bombs. Okay, we won't.
He's quoting Donald Trump here. We have seen it, haven't we? Israel was striking when Israel was retaliating against Iran as the ceasefire was being rolled out. Donald Trump actually dropped the F word on national TV.
And he seemed to be madder at Israel than he was at Iran. Like, hey, I understand if the Ayatollah doesn't listen here, but you guys, I feel betrayed. And isn't that weird? What do you do? I mean, how is he the mere puppet of Netanyahu when if Netanyahu doesn't do what he says, he flips out, starts dropping F-bombs like he's dropping those bunker busters, man. Those bunker busters were nothing compared to that F-bomb.
He says, "Tool, AP is a Zionist chill." Well, at least I'm not retarded and evil. So.
They're limitless morons. Look at this. You literally are summoning the Antichrist, Zio idiots.
Yeah, every night I go to my
circle.
Like, ooh. We're trying to gather more and more power to summon the Antichrist. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Seriously, think about how insane this is. Candace Owens can spout complete, idiotic, false nonsense, like completely stupid. The Jews have made it illegal to criticize anything Israel does on a college campus. They will lock you up and throw you into prison. We go, that's not true. No one did that. It's false. Like, oh my goodness. If you disagree with Candace, you're summoning the Antichrist. Who has to argue like that except lying morons? Hey, when we lie, when we tell a lie, you have to let the lie stand or you're summoning the Antichrist. Yeah, the Antichrist is summoned by exposing lies. Someone lies and you correct the lie. The Antichrist is like, oh, they're calling me. They're calling me. I love the truth. Why does the Antichrist love the truth?
Now, I want to play this part here. Does this sound like Donald Trump is being controlled by the Jews, by the Israel? And I'm sorry for... I'll try to mute it when he says.
I'll beep it out. I'll beep it out myself.
It's a little bit quiet, but it's.
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too. Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours You don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck.
Does this sound like this guy is just being controlled by Israel and
Yes,
just
he
doing
sounds
everything
like
for
a
Israel?
puppet. He sounds like he's licking Netanyahu's balls.
That's the kind of stuff the Groypers say.
This was several days ago, at the end of the war that was fought for only a week or more, where he, as a result of Iran or the Islamic regime coming and begging for a ceasefire, he brokered, or he managed and did the ceasefire, and then told both sides to stop. And Israel did actually say, we're not just going to let them, bomb us in the last moment and then just leave it like that. So we're going to retaliate. And he said, no, you are not. And he tweeted it. He said, you do not drop those bombs, Israel. And then he goes out and says this about Israel. Does this sound like Israel is controlling the situation?
Yes, Israel told him to act like they were displeased, to cover up the fact that he's a mere puppet for their agenda.
He was involved in all of this for a very short time, and he got so angry about it because it was very difficult that he started lashing out at Israel. Does this sound like he's just being controlled by Israel, you absolute idiots? Absolute freaking morons.
And seriously, dude, the real problem, the biggest problem in all of this is what we just saw, right? If we correct a flat out lie, a false claim, making something up, demonstrably false, and we say, hey, that's false,
You're supporting the Antichrist by telling the truth here.
You have a bunch of lunatics who've absorbed the idea that it's good to lie. And if you correct the lie, you're serving the Antichrist. It's good to lie. Lying is good, and exposing the lie is serving Satan and the You're dealing with some sick people here, man. Sick, evil stuff. It reminds me of like Della guys who they'll lie. Oh, look, the perfect dot for dot preservation. And when you respond to them, you're the bad guy. If you correct a lie, you're the guys. The truth does not need you to lie for it. Doesn't.
This reminds me of a recent example, actually, which I also want to go into very, very quickly to just demonstrate it, because we have a lot of gropers here in the chat. I guess somebody,
I know, there's a ton of them.
Somebody told them, "Come on, go to this live stream and spam garbage there. That's what we need
Tell
right
them
now.
about the Jews.
That's what we need right now. You see, this is our moment.
Tell them about the dancing Israeli. They never heard that one 5,000 times.
This is our moment.
They will be unprepared for an onslaught of groyperness."
This reminds me of this lie recently. So here is a report, and here is, by the way, some complete filth, absolute devil spawn scum, this bag, whose name is Zadok something. In his bio, he calls himself an Essene, but he also has the Orthodox cross here. Now, I don't believe for a second here that this guy is actually an Orthodox Christian or anything like that. He just uses symbols, apparently, as it seems. He makes a post about a guy named Adam Shafee who confessed to killing a New River, Arizona pastor by crucifying him and also put a crown of thorns on his head. The suspect, Adam Shafee, said he planned to execute and crucify a total of 14 priests in 10 states across the country. He says, what do you notice? The implication here is that this guy is Jewish, that he is a Jew, and that he is doing this because he hates Christians.
Well, in defense of Mr. Zadok there, I'm seeing some Hebrew letters across that guy's neck. And as we know, devout Jews are super big on getting the name of God tattooed across their necks, man.
Now, if
they're big on tossing around the name of God, and they're really even bigger on tattoos, man. Come on.
If you had a little bit of familiarity with the Bible, with the book that these people pretend to believe in or to follow, you would probably know that it is a very strict prohibition to put a tattoo on your skin. If you knew anything about Judaism, you would possibly also know, especially if you're familiar with Christianity and actually with Christian objections, with Jesus' story with the Pharisees and with the people of the law. You would know that one of the big issues was that that the Jewish authorities were very big on following the Torah word for word, very strictly, letter by letter, and trying to keep every single commandment. This is actually very, very much still Rabbinic Judaism. Why in the world would you then think that if some guy has a tattoo on his neck, this means that he's probably a Jew because they are Hebrew letters? But there is something even bigger. Those who can read Hebrew, or those who are at least familiar a little bit with some letters and some words with the Bible, will immediately see a much, much bigger problem here. When I posted this, when I shared this, many Jews deliberately abstained from even looking at it or sharing it or commenting on it, because there is something extremely problematic about the tattoo itself. The tattoo here is literally spelled out the name of God in the Bible. No Jew will casually write down the name of God. No single religious Jew will casually write down the name of God like this. So we have two extreme no's combined. One is having a tattoo, which no religious serious Jew would do. And then we even have a tattoo combined with the name of God, with the sacred name of God, which is told by God himself in the Bible to be his eternal name by which he is remembered generation for generation. You know what religious Jews do, what Jews in general do when they invoke the name of God in liturgy, when they read the scripture, they can literally see it. You read it in Hebrew, in the Hebrew script. The name is right there in the Bible, on the Torah text, on the Tanakh text that they are reading. They see it and they don't say it. They say instead Adonai, which means Lord, the Lord. Or they say Hashem, which means the name, the holy name. That's how sensitive Jews are when it comes to the name. And these imbeciles actually think they're doing something and think, oh, he has a Hebrew tattoo. That means he must be Jew.
He's obviously one of the dancing Israelis who planned 9/11.
Anyone know what the tattoo says?
It says we will destroy America. Hail the Antichrist.
I then posted this. I actually looked into the backstory of it. I said, what do you notice? He's a lunatic who thinks he's the son of God. He's also from a Christian family. You should spend more time learning and less time hating. Maybe you would then know that this tattoo rules out whatever you're implying. I'm pretty sure he didn't actually get this part. But here are reports about this guy. Not only do I have zero remorse, this is what he says when he's asked, not only do I have zero remorse, if my father puts me in an authoritative position on this earth, I will execute every single priest and burn every single church to the ground, he told Arizona Family. Schaefer said he hopes to get the death penalty for his crime because I want to show that you can't kill God's son. The whole story is
Wait, so he's Ezra?
This lunatic
claims
here,
to be Ezra, the son of Allah.
He claims to be the real son of God, and he hates Jesus and hates Christians because they elevate Jesus instead.
So you're saying he's a Jew.
And the bad thing,
and that he's sent by Netanyahu.
And the funny thing about this is I brought the receipts, and this is only one of those examples. I also made I also corrected somebody else who brought this story, and the same people, they never acknowledged any of this. This guy didn't retract this. He didn't say, "Oh, okay, I was wrong." He kept on just sharing this. His groper audiences kept on sharing this. The neo-Nazi audiences kept on sharing this. This is because
lying is good for these
care.
guys. Lying is a
care about
virtue. Lying is a virtue for them. It's like the Dawa guys. Lying, it's if what you're aiming at is good, then lying nonstop to support that is also good. It's the same mentality as the Dawa guys.
So he believes he's chosen by God. These people are they are functionally retarded people. This is what they are. Anyway, let's get back to Candace Owens here. So Candace Owens, I want to deeply analyze this post that she made, because it is just Stephen Crowder went over it very, very briefly, but it's so full of nonsense and full of lies. And I want to just briefly expose here, or in detail actually expose what kind of a liar and what kind of a fan of misinformation she actually is. However, let's just take a few super chats here. Unique Petzo said, Candace's example for women got half wit of men. This is true. There's one thing that Muhammad got right, apparently. Thunderhead said, fun fact, Stephen Crowder was one of the voices of the brain on the PBS cartoon series Arthur, but don't take my word for it. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, he used to do voice work. I think he acted in a couple things as well.
That's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. To be fair, there are Protestants who are pro-Islam, says Abu Baker. I know there are Protestants who are all kinds of things. But
nice try, Abu Bakr, in your popery, but no one's going to believe what you say about Protestants over here. Not on the show of the Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance.
Also, if they are pro-Islam, then they are not real Protestants.
Not real Protestants, they're secret Catholics.
There's a strain of trad-cath that are anti-Semitic. I know they are. There are some who are just against the Vatican because they have a problem with Jews. Gone to Byzantine Catholic Church twice now. Got very warm welcome despite being a Jew, says Ashmays. Well, yeah, that's how you will be received. You went to a Byzantine Catholic Church.
They will beat you. They will beat you. They will beat me in the desert. They'll take you to the desert and beat you in the desert.
I recently watched yesterday. Actually, I looked into 2 of your videos, and I was actually kind of interested. So, seems to be interesting. Maybe we should talk sometime. Get in touch with me. We should talk. We should talk. You're Mr. Dirty. Any thoughts on Adam Schaefer? This is the proof that Zionists are evil. Was this was made only less than an hour ago before I brought this up. It's funny. Timothy Freeman, API was disappointed that you didn't share the beauty of Muta marriage, the Al-Zut narrative, and no Dawa voice on the Matt Fradd show.
You didn't use the Dawa voice, man. I heard you almost broke into it at one point.
I didn't. On the flip side, I hope you continue to pray the rosary, Achi, says Timothy Freeman. Thank you. Appreciate that. Apo Baker, Charles Martel, Richard the Lion-Hearted, Jan Sobieski, Jan Huyandi, Beaumont of Antioch, Johann of Austria were Catholic. If not for them, we'd be zooted. Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that. I do agree. Catholics have done lots of good stuff in the past.
Just not anymore.
For Europe. Thunderhead still was wearing his guardian angel beret. Yeah, he founded this organization called the Guardian Angels, right? That are supposed to be civilians who interfere in crime or something like that.
I don't care what it's for. It looks stupid. It looks like something that would have been cool in the 1970s, and it's just not anymore.
Black Angel said, "Oh, sup." No, I quickly want to correct myself. I mean, Catholics did a lot of good things. Just ignore the part where I said in the past. Liam Scott, Actual Justice Warrior, did great videos on Mamdani. Who is Actual Justice Warrior? We will see. Apostle of Allah, don't talk crap about Sliver. He's an NYC legend. I'll talk crap about whoever I want. And how am I supposed to have respect for whatever is respected in NYC when they are on the brink of voting in an Islamist socialist as their mayor? Unique Petso, white American men sound sexist, Candy Eyes. It does. Saw a video of Rabbi Shapiro titled Palestine Talks. Rabbi Shapiro says Judaism is opposed to Zionism, that Zionism is an idol, quite unexpected by me. I don't really care who says what.
Yeah, that's not unexpected. There's a I mean, when I was in New York, there were a lot of those dudes that would show up to everything.
There are some Jewish sects and movements that are anti-Zionist, or some are indifferent to Zionism. Some of them are not bad. Some of them are pretty bad. Some of them, like the NK, Netroy Carter, they are pretty horrible people. There are some who are just religiously against Zionism, but who don't really make it their activism. and so on. There is a lot of diversity. Rifra Barker says Crowder did condemn Hamas early on, which I appreciated. Very, very good. Thunderhead reminded to all that Mamdani tweeted on October 8th that he mourned the loss of hundreds of people across Israel and Palestine. Death toll for Israel 1,139. Death toll for Palestine 13. Protesters in Judea and Samaria. We have been warning the world. Just deal with what's coming. There's more hate toward Israel for a reason. They control the world, than hatred toward Islamism, Turkey, that conquered us for more than 4 centuries. Well, it's because people are stupid. Amit Yanuka, just watch Nukes Taku on this Stephen video. He did a pretty good job. Love you too from Israel. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. This is the proof that Israel is paying us. Fatwad, you will never truly red pill and enter a higher plane of wisdom until you go Google dancing Israelis. Powerful. All right, let's continue with this, and then we can later finish off the super chats. All right, so here is the big thing that we're getting into now. Let me correct my screen here. Let me get everything ready. So Candace Owens made this tweet, which Stephen Crowder referenced briefly, and I actually want to go through this one by one, with notes that I have and other things. So Candace says they tried to redefine anti-Semitism. When was this made? June 17, only 10 days ago. They tried to redefine anti-Semitism. That's true. How can you trust him when he doesn't
trust anything he says ever again?
There is no attempt at all, no attempt whatsoever to redefine anti-Semitism. She's completely making this up.
Oh, no. I remember where she gets this, unless she's changed her story again, but she's like, she's the one who says, like, well, killing the people of Gaza is anti-Semitic because they're Semites, and therefore, if you're saying that anti-Semitism is about Jews, then you're redefining anti-Semitism. She's on board with that anti-Semitism doesn't refer to discriminating against Jews. And so if you're trying to define it as being, if you're saying, you're attacking Jews all day, you're an anti-Semite, she says, you're trying to redefine the term. That's stupid.
That's incredibly stupid, considering that the term anti-Semitism was actually coined and popularized by a German guy who was explicitly anti-Jewish. It was created, it was coined and popularized by a person who wanted to have a certain term that is just about hating or being against ethnic Jews. So it's not a word that Jews or others made up to define what is and is not offensive to them. It is something that an anti-Semite himself actually came up with and popularized. That's what it all is. It is about Jews. Criminalized criticism of Israel on college campuses. This never happened. There is no place in America where criticizing Israel is
a crime.
There is no place where it is attempted to be criminalized. She is once again taking a bill from a while ago that was just about cutting fundings for universities which blatantly tolerate anti-Jewish discrimination in the name of anti-Zionism, for example. She's taking that, like many other people did, and thereby arguing that they're trying to criminalize criticism of Israel. She makes it look like, and also did make it look like when it was going around, that this bill will make it possible to just lock up random people who criticize Israel and to put them in jail. It never happened. That's complete nonsense.
Yeah, guys. No, seriously. It's one thing if you heard this when it started, right? Because that's how it got labeled. That's how it got labeled by like the Groypers and all these guys. They're trying to make it illegal to criticize Israel, when that was never. We went through the entire bill during a live stream. It's one thing if you heard that early on and you said it. Right? Sometimes you hear things and you pass them on before you've actually had a chance to investigate. This is a long time later. This lie was exposed a long time ago. She's still spouting, which means she doesn't care, right? She somehow has all this ability and all these researchers at her disposal to go into anything any Jew has ever done for the past 2,000 years and so on, and find everything and link it all together and stuff. But she can't read the words of a bill and accurately say what it says, which means she believes it's okay to lie, to attack Jews. That's dangerous when you have someone with a huge following who believes it's perfectly morally justified to lie to achieve your goal. Dangerous, dangerous ground.
Also very, very sickening. Absolutely sickening.
Liar! You're a liar!
Further, and most crucially, she says, seed the idea that the declaration of Christ as our king amounted to hatred against Jews. This is also a lie. Nobody tried to insinuate or do anything like this. She still, despite being called out and corrected on this, and despite this being explained so many times, still writing this lie deliberately. Because as David Wood said,
David Wood said,
yeah,
as David Van Idemir hath agreed with.
As David said, she knows that she's lying and she's okay with it. She likes to spread lies. She doesn't back down from her lies even when she's corrected. This is like many of these gropers. Even when you correct them, even when you explain it to them very, very clearly, they will not back down. They will keep continuing to lie. This whole discussion started because certain groper people like Nick Fuentes and others started with this trend of trying to hijack the phrase Christ is king to go and say it to Jews offensively in order to attack them and provoke them in the name of Christ. Which, by the way, if you're a Christian, right, this should be problematic. This should be offensive, man.
Yeah, it's almost like taking the Lord's name in vain. It's not the same thing. That referred to something specific in the law and so on. But it's like that. I'm using Jesus as a tool to attack and heap abuse on people. And guys, if you don't remember how this was started, that you'd have one of the gropers, and they'd say, "Listen here, you Jew scum, you Jew, blah blah blah. Why don't you go kill a bunch of babies and blah 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 blah?" And they'd say all this, and they go, "Christ is king." And then if a Jew responded and said, "Hey, why are you saying?" They, "Oh, look, they're trying to silence us for saying that Christ is king." And it worked with people like the Candace fans. Yeah. By the way, guys, on a serious, very, 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 very extremely serious note, when you can point to actual, indisputable, 100% grade A lies from Candace Owens on issues like they're trying to criminalize criticism of Israel on college campuses and so on. When that happens and you are her fan and her lies are exposed to you and you say, "You know what? I don't care because it's more important to attack Jews." So she's lying to do that, then that's all fine with us. You're an evil scumbag. Do not tell us to believe anything you say.
Yes. Absolutely.
Don't tell us to take anything she says or you say seriously. Again, period. You are destroying your right to be taken seriously.
Now here is a very, very funny clip that I want to show. Here's Nick Fuentes, Nicolás Fuentes, the leader of the most retarded people out there, the groypers.
I thought you were talking about Mexicans because he's quick to pull the Mexican card whenever he's called a white supremacist by police.
Say that I was one of the first people in a political context on the right wing to start saying Christ is king. That was kind of the groypers thing for a while. Now, Republican politicians and conservatives would talk about God a lot, and they would talk about Judeo-Christianity. We were the first really explicitly Catholic, really intense, far-right group to say Christ is king.
So a Jew is king.
What's interesting about that phrase is unlike
a Jew is king.
A Jew is king.
He's the best Jew, by the way.
One nation under God. Not everybody can and not everybody will say it. And it's interesting. When you go to some kind of conservative, Republican, liberal, Democratic event, and they say one nation under God, everybody can put their hand over their heart and say that. And when they say, may God protect our troops, everybody can say that. But if you go to a political rally and everyone's chanting, Christ is King, if you look around the room, you may notice not everybody is saying the chant. Not everybody can. And by nature, it is exclusionary. Because unlike a vague appeal to God, not everybody can say it. That's because not everybody believes it. And saying it is a way to quickly identify who's really with us, who actually has a faith that is strong and alive. Not every Christian wakes up.
So it continues like this. And he continues with talking about how he makes it common, and now everybody says it, and so on. But the point here, as he clearly says it, he says that he and his group are the ones who started the whole Christ is King trend, to go around and to, instead of just doing this whole one nation under God thing, for example, start Christ is King as a popular slogan. And he's what? He's a groper. He's a filthy scumbag, and he does it just as an identifier for themselves. And they do it to attack Jews. This is the most common context, which is why when Candace Owens picked it up, people knew already that this is associated with these groper people. And when she used it directly at a Jew, in this case Ben Shapiro, it was quite clear that she's not just expressing her faith, she's directly using a line that should be about her faith, that should be about Christ, in order to attack a Jewish person because he is a Jew. People pointed this out, and she then started crying about it. The funny thing about this is, and I have challenged people back when this whole scandal started, and I do it again, and to this day not a single person has actually come forth with a proper answer to this. I challenge people once again, as I did before, and I will bet you will find not a single relevant, significant Jewish person who actually started telling people that it's anti-Semitic to say Christ is King. There was not a single well-known, not a single significant Jewish person who actually had a problem with this phrase. The objection usually came from other fellow Christians who said, hey, stop using this line to attack Jews. It was not Jews who went around and said, oh, no, this phrase is anti-Semitic. This phrase is anti-Semitic. We don't like it. We Jews don't like it. You can't use that phrase. It's anti-Semitic. You cannot do that. You can't say Christ is King. There's no Jew, no significant Jew who actually went around doing that. This is a trend that started with people pointing out that the phrase is being deliberately misused, basically using Christ's name in vain to attack Jews. That's all it is. So she is blatantly lying, and she had this explained to her so many times, and she's still doing it.
Yeah, it's actually really, it's an important issue as far as like mass manipulation, because a ton of people fell for this who weren't using it in any anti-Semitic sense and so on. But you just had Nick Fuentes admit they were the ones who started this trend. The Groypers were the ones who started this trend. And they were using it specifically to marginalize Jews and anyone who supports or sides with Jews, to cause a kind of division, right? And so then they start this, and they're doing this online and stuff, and they're doing it at various places and rallies and so on. And so if you're a Christian and you're looking back at this and you're going, I don't want you to use Jesus like that. I don't want you to use it in this way. It's in the realm of taking the Lord's name in vain. You're weaponizing Jesus for a freaking white supremacist, white nationalist group who wants to wipe out Jews. Don't use the name of Christ like that. That's messed up. And then when you say that, don't use the name of Christ like that, it's, oh, look, the Jews are complaining that this is anti-Semitic. And people fell for that. And it was like, what? You can't stop us from saying Christ is king. You can't stop us. And it worked. And Candace is one of the people helping. So what has she gotten right here that is actually a legitimate criticism here, AP, in this thing you're going through? Nothing. I haven't seen anything.
I want to bring up, actually here, use this opportunity to praise one saint that I came to love in the Orthodox Church, who is Saint Dimitri Klepinin. There is a book about him written by his granddaughter, I believe, called Dimitri's Cross, which I have. And this guy should be a slap in the face to all of these Jew-hating, evil people out there. There is something very, very, very nice about his story. So he is one of those people who, together with Maria, Saint Maria of Paris, who is right here behind me, was during the Second World War, during the Holocaust, helping Jews escape, giving them fake baptismal certificates, so that when the Nazis come and ask for Jews, they say, "We don't have any Jews here. These are regular Christian people." So he was, together with her, helping Jews escape. He was arrested after it all came out, was arrested by the Gestapo, was eventually taken to a concentration camp where he then died. But there is a very, very interesting exchange, an anecdote about him, which I want to share with everyone. So here is, it says here, Father Dimitri was absent during the raid, but the next morning he calmly celebrated a final divine liturgy in the church and went to face the Gestapo.
Screw the Gestapo, man.
A portion of his interrogation with a German officer named Hoffmann has been preserved. Hoffmann, the Gestapo guy, says, if we release you, will you promise never again to aid Jews? Father Dimitri says, I can say no such thing. I am a Christian and I must act as I must. Hoffmann then strikes the priest across the face and screams, Jew lover, how dare you talk of those pigs as being a Christian duty?
Doesn't that sound exactly like what Candace Owens or a Groyper would say?
Yeah. To which this Orthodox priest, Father Dimitri, raises his cross from around his neck and says, do you know this Jew?
Boom.
He raises his cross, his big priest cross here from his chest, and says, do you know this Jew? For this response, Father Dimitri was struck again and knocked to the floor. Later on, he was sent to a prison camp along with Mother Maria's son Yuri, and so on. He was ridiculed by the guards shouting, Jew, Jew, and so on. Eventually, he died. But this exchange, like, compared this to these pretend Christians who are these filthy Jew haters here. The Nazi Gestapo guy says, how dare you talk about those pigs, referring to Jews as being a Christian duty, to which he raises his cross with Christ on it and says, do you know this Jew? I can think of what the Groypers would do if they faced this Gestapo officer. They would probably they would poop their pants right there. That's what they would do.
Please tell me more about those filthy Jews, please, please, please.
What are you talking about? They'd be with the Gestapo, the Groypers, man.
True. This is a Christian, not you filthy scumbags.
Hey, Greater Israel. Now we're on Greater Israel. Come on. Come on. Is she going to get to dancing Jews? Is she going to get to dancing Israelis? You got to, man. You got to.
All of this was done in preparation for the Greater Israel agenda. This is a
wait, all of what?
Theory.
All of what?
All of this apparently here.
Oh, so hang on. So redefining anti-Semitism, redefining anti-Semitism, which didn't happen, criminalizing criticism of Israel on college campuses, which didn't happen, and most crucially, seeding the idea that the declaration of Christ as our king amounted to hatred against Jews. Saying that a Jew is king is hatred against Jews. What was the point of it all? All of this was done in preparation for the Greater Israel agenda.
An agenda which does not exist.
Yeah, regarding which they attempted to emotionally manipulate Americans to accept. And this, dude, isn't this amazing? I mean, you have actual jihadis calling for the subjugation of the entire world.
Yeah,
and no one's interested in that. What we're interested in is this imaginary Greater Israel project.
Here's the funny thing about this. Here is what they describe as Greater Israel, right? This conspiracy theory. This is Greater Israel. I can tell you one thing: there is not a single Jew who actually wants to see this happen. Why in the world? Why in the world would Israelis, would Jews want this to happen? They can't barely deal with the little Arab population that they have in their lands already. Do you really think the Jews, with their small numbers, do you really think they would want to conquer and
invade
take land
Egypt,
where
take over the
100
Nile,
million
take over
Arabs
the Nile,
live, and deal with these people? Are you people completely insane?
They want to take over a good chunk of Saudi Arabia, be at war with them, take over most of Iraq, be at war with them, take over most of Syria, be at war with all the jihadis, take over all of Lebanon and a good chunk of Egypt, and especially the Nile. They want this.
This is so stupid, man.
Hey, 1 second. It's 9:30 and it's dark out. I have to go and make sure my 7-year-old actually got out of the neighbor's pool and made his way home. I want to keep my reward as most okayest dad.
Most okayest dad.
Be right back. Gotta get shit.
I really wonder how big the population of this place would be. Let me see if I can find an answer to how big the population of this whole place here would approximately be. And most of it, by the way, would be non-Jewish, would be Arabs. Okay, so according to estimates, this could be, there will be about 120 million people here. Imagine this. Israel barely can manage what they have right now. I mean, they're managing quite well, to be honest. But still, there's endless chaos, endless fighting, endless strife with the people that are already here in this tiny little land. And there are some people who actually think that these Israelis have nothing better to do than to take the rest of this whole land that you see here and to then add over 100 million non-Jewish people to your territory and also deal with their problems. Are you people insane? This is so stupid. Absolutely stupid. Only somebody as stupid as Candace Owens and her audience can actually propagate something as bad as this. This is disgusting behavior, man. This is brainless. This is idiotic. It is dishonest. It is evil. That's basically what it is. If you think about it for a little bit, it doesn't make any sense. But she shares it anyway. And her brainless audience swallows it and shares it. This has 63,000 likes. 63,000 likes. It was seen by over 3 million people. 63,000 likes. Of course, I wonder how much of this is bought, how much of this is paid for, and all that. But 63,000. This is so insane, man. So insane. Let's see. Let me take a few super chats here. Gropers are gay for very, very much. Very, very much. That's the problem. They're angry about it. AP, stop criticizing. This is not godly, not godly. I hope you're joking. I absolutely hope you're joking, or you're just a groper troll or something. A year and a half. Time flies real quick. Time to play more video games. Yes. Did you see IRGC Candace Owens said Israel killed JFK? Does it really surprise me? Absolutely not. Pat the Milkman, a handful of Jews known for dancing everywhere, opposed a million of Muslims seen on TV burning US flags. But why would you believe your eyes? Yep. You have actually Jews stand up for the West against those people. But hey, what about those Israelis arrested on 9/11? Riff Raff Barker, objectivist Yaron Brook, who is pretty brilliant, made the claim that her anti-Semitism is less the exception than the rule regarding historical Christianity. It was more common in the past than it is now. Very, very true. Paul says, search photos from 9/11. Many people took pictures. No, only Jews took pictures. Only Israelis took pictures. Who else would take pictures? Stop lying. Stop defending Israel. Why would Israel target an area with one of the largest Jewish populations and where some of the most influential Jews work. It's because they want to target their own people to start war against themselves or something like that. I never knew you. Apologetics says, with conspiracy theories, you allow for the unimaginable could happen, which then opens the door for anything to happen. And now you're looking at your toothpaste because Crest wants to give you cancer as part of some grand scheme. This is true, but there's something even worse about this. Just think about this for a second. So 9/11 happened, right? 9/11 was blamed on Israel. It was blamed on Jews by some people, by some conspiracy theorists who are fortunately not most people, but some people actually start these conspiracy theories and spread them. What happens as a result? I mean, let's put Jews and Israel aside here for a minute. Let's say we don't care about defending Jews. Let's say we don't care about defending Israel. What happens when you popularize the stupid conspiracy theory that 9/11 was actually done by Israel? You are distracting from the actual perpetrators. You are distracting from the actual people who did it and who openly claimed it, who openly praised it, who loved it, who celebrated it, and who promised more terrorist attacks, and who inspired many other people to also commit terrorist attacks. When you blame Israel or the Jews for every bad thing that is done by the Islamists, by the terrorists, what you are doing is you are covering for the Islamists and the terrorists who are promising to damage and to take down and to take over your Western civilizations. So you are even worse, I would say, than those leftists who defend Islam from criticism. You are directly denying the worst atrocities that the enemies of the West, that the enemies of Christians, that the enemies of the world perpetrate, and thereby giving them the ability and the cover and the means to carry out more attacks and to free them from blame. If you actually spread conspiracy theories like 9/11 and other conspiracy theories that protect Islamists and that take away their responsibility and take the attention away from them and blame Israel and others instead, you are directly an enemy of the West. You are evil. You could be described as a helper, as an aid to those terrorists. If you spread conspiracy theories like this, you are an enemy of the West. You shouldn't consider yourself patriotic if you're an actual real person. You shouldn't consider yourself nationalistic. You shouldn't consider yourself pro-West. You are anti-West. You are helping the enemies of the West, the enemies of Americans, the enemies of American families, the enemies of those who die in terrorist attacks. American families, American people, Western people are killed, are brutally massacred in terrorist attacks. They are crying, and you are their enemy. You are the enemy of those families that are crying by standing up for their murderers, for the terrorists. You are defending their murderers. You are defending the terrorists and shifting blame on uninvolved people. You are thereby directly contributing to more death, more damage to these American families. You are evil. You are filthy scum. And I hope you repent and stop or face the consequences of that in one way or another. I hope these people pay for their lies in some way or another. This is the most anti-West, most anti-American thing that you could do. And these people actually think that they are pro-West and pro-America. It could very well be an anti-American plot paid for by certain entities, by certain interests. This is basically, I don't have any other explanation. If you do stuff like this, you are anti-West, anti-American, anti-humanity, anti-civilization. You are filthy. That's it. And David agrees with this 100%.
Yeah, I didn't hear it, but I agree with everything AP said.
Powerful. Thank you.
You're still on this?
You missed the best part, man. I was just talking about how conspiracy theorists are actually enemies of humanity. because you know what they're doing, right? They're covering for the perpetrators, they're covering for the terrorists, and shifting the blame on Israel and Jews, and thereby allowing more terrorism and allowing more Islamization, and helping the Islamists attack Americans and the West. This is what they're doing. They are the enemy. That's what they are. It was always about a planned war with Iran, and it doomed. Where's the plan? Where's the planned war?
They literally bombed Iran. This is the proof.
June 17th. Several days later, a ceasefire happened. Where is the war? Where is the freaking war?
Just getting started, bud.
The conspiracy theorists were right again. Well, you are an imbecile if you think that. It was always about a planned war with Iran and a doomed heretical belief that mass slaughter of women and children is messianic. The hell does it have to do with anything?
Yeah, I mean, think about that. So, suppose you just really, really don't like Israel. You don't like Netanyahu. You don't like any of that. You actually asked, okay, why would they like Iran crushed? Why would they like Iran crushed? Is it A, because Iran constantly screams death to Israel and wants to destroy Israel, and is got its tentacles in all these various terrorist groups who keep trying to slaughter as many Jews as possible? Is it that, or is it, no, we've got this belief, like Netanyahu sitting there, I've got this belief that mass slaughtering women and children will bring about the Messiah. Let me go kill them all in Iran and get Americans to invade and kill all the Americans.
This is a blood libel right here. I think that's pretty much what she's doing right here. I think that's what she's insinuating.
Dude, seriously, it's like responding to these nuts, I don't think in the long run really works. You just have to start saying the same thing about that. Like everything Candace says, you have to say it's part of her conspiracy to her weird messianic belief that killing as many people as possible is going to bring out the return of Christ. And just make it up, because that's the rule. And what's amazing is they won't like that. They won't like it if you're making it up about them.
Yeah. Powerful. So Candace Owens is actually doing this just because she wants people to die. That's it.
Hey, is it true? I saw people saying she had some bounty systems saying she'll give 15,000 to anyone who exposes Jews for. I don't know if that was true. I saw that circulating.
I don't know.
I guess it would be. I guess it would be okay to just make it up, since she feels free to make stuff up. Anyway, I've been thinking about putting on a rabbi costume and finding the proof, conveniently finding the proof.
Now, this here is very typical. If you believe the Polish Benjamin Milejkowski,
who?
She's talking about Benjamin Netanyahu. And she's describing him as a Polish man whose actual name is Milejkowski. What she's trying to do here, she probably also believes, because she's some guy who she is a guy actually. She's a guy who thinks that Ian Carroll is a reliable source of information. She probably thinks that Benjamin Netanyahu's actual name is Benjamin Milejkowski. Netanyahu's father or grandfather had the last name Milejkowski, and the name, once Israel was established, was changed into Netanyahu. This doesn't mean that they are of Polish origins, you absolute idiots. They had Polish names because Jewish populations in Europe from time to time were, through different decrees, ordered or commanded to adopt European last names. This happened again and again. Some did it just to evade certain things and to just say, let's just call us by these names. We can still call each other by our Jewish names, but let's just adopt these names. It happened throughout European history again and again. I mean, this is some basic information that you can just look up. Jewish last names in Europe. This happened in Austria. There's one. There was a famous decree in Austria that happened. There were several imperial decrees that went over that happened throughout European history. Let's see. Emperor Joseph II's decree in 1787 requiring Jews in the Habsburg Empire to adopt German surnames. Napoleon's decree required Jews in areas west of the Rhine to adopt fixed names, including surnames. Russian Empire imposed certain things like that as well. Because these regulations were imposed, Jews frequently were told to adopt non-Jewish last names, which is how Jewish people in Europe ended up becoming or having popular German or Polish or Russian last names. That's what happened. And once Israel was established, many of those people, some kept their non-Hebrew last names, but some decided to just get rid of them and to adopt a Hebrew last name, like Netanyahu. That's it. That's all this is. Saying Polish is denying that these people are actual Israelites or descendants of the Middle East, which is a conspiracy theory that has been debunked a long, long time ago. We have very clear proof that the Ashkenazi people, Ashkenazi Jews, have ties to the Middle East. That's it. If you believe the Polish Benjamin Milejkowski is chosen by God to impart murder, starvation, rape, and blackmail, where's the blackmail? Where's the rape? Where's the starvation? Not even the organizations in charge of it have admitted that there is actual starvation going on. Only that Gaza was probably on the brink of starvation. That's it. Impart murder, starvation, rape, and blackmail. Then may God have mercy on your soul. Yeah, may God have mercy on your soul, Candace, because you're a lying, filthy scumbag. May God have mercy on your soul. Netanyahu is of the synagogue of Satan. Now she is misusing and deliberately, horribly using scripture here to directly do the regular thing, which people like her generally do, which is to use this for Jews in general and say Netanyahu is of the synagogue of Satan. This appears in the scripture where the actual phrasing is that they are not Jews, but they are of the synagogue of Satan. They usually often leave this out. They don't get into the whole they are not Jews part. They just go with synagogue of Satan. The reference is about certain people not being proper Jews, but being of the synagogue of Satan. It's not about Jews being the synagogue of Satan. And this is a biblical reference about people who persecuted, or certain synagogues that persecuted the early Christians, for example, or that told on the early Christians and turned them over to the Roman authorities and things like that. There are some interpretations. There is, for example, in the Orthodox Study Bible that I have been going through, it is explained as a reference to those that persecuted the early Christians or who outright rejected Christ at that time, for example. And they don't take any firm stance on what exactly it is. But in a direct context, it is about those that actually persecuted the Christians. You know, the funny thing is, you can't possibly come and take this as a blanket statement to be about Jews in general. Because the funny thing is that the early Christians were going to the synagogue with Jews together. They were worshiping alongside Jews in synagogue, while also later on gathering in private for their Christian gatherings. So were they now going to Satan's synagogue? Is that what Christians were doing early on? Is that the history of Christianity? Was Christianity born out of the synagogue of Satan?
Hey, ZCJ88 says one thing about me and another about you. He says, D Wood, you are pathetic too. And then about you, he says, AP, you are not a Christian. Well, it's your lucky day, ZCJ88, because I'm all about giving people an opportunity to say what they're thinking. So now's your opportunity. Give your best number one example of why you would call me pathetic, and of AP, why AP is not a Christian. So
I am absolutely a Christian. Let me see if I memorized the creed. I'm trying to do it every day. Hey, you want to know if I'm a Christian? I believe in one God, Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth, and of all things visible and invisible, and in one Lord Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God. Oh, I always mess it up here, man.
You're supposed to say you worship Nick Fuentes, and that's the correct answer for these guys.
Begotten, not light of light, true God of true God, begotten, not made, of one essence with the Father, through whom all things were made, who for us and for our salvation came down from heaven and was incarnate by the Holy Spirit and the Virgin Mary, and became man. He was crucified for us under Pontius Pilate, and suffered and died and was buried. He rose on the third day according to the scriptures. He will come again with glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom shall have no end. And in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the creator of life, who with the Father and the Son is equally worshipped and glorified. And in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, I confess one baptism for the remission of sins. I hope for the resurrection of the dead, and
that's why they won't baptize you. They were going to baptize AP, and they're like, "Go and recite this," and he starts fumbling through his words, like, "We'll talk to you next year."
The resurrection of the dead and the age of the world to come. Amen. I think that's how it goes. Yeah,
powerful.
I think I got it all. Didn't I? Did I get it all? Yeah, I think I did. So
we'll give you a pass. All right. Hey, check out all these comments though. I like you need to do a poll or something to see how many actual groypers we got here and stuff like that. But you can kind of tell whenever you bring something up. David, being here with this retard proves you don't love Jesus. Why would you call Candace Owens a retard, man? That's not nice. And yes, even though what she says is some of the dumbest, most insanely idiotic nonsense we've ever seen, we still have the basic respect to treat her like a responsible human being and refute her stupid anti-Semitic points. Where'd that guy go?
He also says any so-called Christian who supports what Israel is doing is now a brother in Christ. What? This is awesome, man. So he's also saying that anybody who supports Israel is now a brother in Christ.
Wow, that's interesting. So Flopja says if you support everything, this is weird because I wouldn't support everything Israel or any nation does. I assume that they're made of human beings and that human beings are going to make mistakes, and you have to, when they do something right, you say that's right. When they don't, you say that's wrong. But here Flopja says any so-called Christian who supports what Israel is doing is now brother in Christ.
Powerful.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
So therefore, support Israel so that you can be a brother in Christ.
Yeah, that's according to Flopja, ladies and gentlemen. That's according to Flopja. Hey, did anyone see if whoever that was who? Think about how nice we are. People like, oh, David, blah 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 blah, AP, blah blah blah, and we're like, okay, pause everything. Let's hear this person out. Let's hear this.
Oh, sure. I missed that part. You missed the part where the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Son. Yeah, okay. I knew I missed something. I always missed something like that. That's funny. I'm sorry. Where's that person? David, who was that? Who was that? Who was that?
Who was what?
The person who told me that I'm not a Christian. Why am I not a Christian? Tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking.
Floppy said, nice work, Juice. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So there you go again. Flopja really, really loves everything Jews say or do. He says that if you support everything Israel does, then you're a brother in Christ. And he's a big fan. Flopja's a big fan.
Says they hate Christ, though. WTF. I know the Groypers they really do hate Christ, which is why they like to use his name in vain, just to spread hate against people. It's pretty messed up. Yeah. Anyway, Netanyahu is of the synagogue of Satan. Every war he demands in Congress ends with the mass slaughter of Christians. Every war he demands. Which war did he demand?
And which war did he demand that ended in the mass slaughter of Christians?
The only war so far where Netanyahu actually actively, like this is the first time in history that they can actually say that that Israel asked America to enter war with them, and in my opinion, it was a bad move, honestly. Or maybe it was a strategic move. Maybe because I predicted that if America gets involved, Israel will have to show more restraint against the Islamic regime, and it exactly happened like that. America got involved, and then they have to show restraint and go for a ceasefire. I'm pretty sure that Israel is working toward picking up this war as soon as Iran makes a wrong step again. But every war he demands in Congress, Nobody demanded a war in Congress. Netanyahu did not demand a war in Congress. The only time that he spoke about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, he was not even a leader of the nation. And the war, once again, the Iraq war was vastly and mostly demanded by the US American administration. And also, by the way, by Republican voters. And by people in the United States government. The entire narrative that that it is Israel that basically dragged us into the war started emerging after the war started going not so well. And Israel themselves said America took out the wrong target. Israel asked us for 30 freaking years to go in and take out the Islamic regime instead. America did not do it. We thought that Trump was doing it right now, and we are still not doing it. In fact, according to Trump's own messages, Israel actually had their eyes on and the possibility to take out Khamenei and to end the regime, and Trump prevented it. If true, I think I don't really like Trump for that. I think he should have totally given them the permission to take him out. But Israel begged us for 30 years to go in and to take out the Islamic regime, and America did not do it. And these idiots actually think that Israel is in charge.
Hey, look, we have Flopja here. Why pretend you are a Christian? Yeah, Flopja, we know that you've said that to be a brother in Christ, you have to support every single thing Israel does, and we might not. We're not going to give that sort of blanket allegiance to any human government. So we think you're kind of a weird Christian for laying it down as a criterion for being a Christian to support anything Israel does, right or wrong. That's a weird idea. That's a weird idea of a Christian, but you do you, man. You do you.
Now here are two things that Candace is doing here. He's no more God's chosen than Henrik Yagoda or Vladimir Lenin before him. This is just extremely filthy. Extremely, extremely filthy. Henrik Yagoda, whose actual name is Genrik Yagoda, not Henrik Yagoda, she just never gets it right, was an officer in the Soviet Union who did oversee the mass killings of plenty of people. She is insinuating that he did so because he is Jewish. He was indeed one of the very few people who was Jewish and was in a high-ranking position. But he was only Jewish by descent. The guy had nothing to do with Judaism, and he was an atheist. He was a hardcore atheist. And he also persecuted Jews, by the way. But of course, she's one of those people who will pick up that one person, and then she goes on to say Vladimir Lenin, by which she's insinuating that Vladimir Lenin was also Jewish. Lenin was not Jewish. There was nothing Jewish about him. Contrary to Yagoda, Vladimir Lenin wasn't born into a Jewish family. He had no idea about anything Jewish. He was a regular Russian guy. But she is once again running with this messed up idea. Oh, there were some suggestions. I think there was something that apparently somewhere in his ancestry, his great grandmother or something like that had something Jewish or something like that. He had nothing to do with this. He was a Russian guy. That's it. A Russian communist, a Russian socialist, a Russian communist. The vast majority of the Bolshevik movement were Russian people, Russian post-Christian people. There were probably more Christians in the movement than Jews. But these guys will come and point at one Jew and at one person who is not even a Jew. This is what Candace Owens does. She is an absolute filthy scum liar. That's what she is. That's what she is. Anyway. Liars. Liars. Let's return to the video. But before that, actually, let's take a few super chats here. Ash makes lots of badass Arabs volunteer for IDF service. That's what they do, yeah. To my understanding, they don't have to go to the IDF, but many of them do volunteer. Gijike says, would you two review the interview trigonometry did with Andrew Bustamante? Trigonometry. Andrew Booster. When was that? And why would we review this? The real war is just beginning. 1 day ago, is that it? I see. I don't know, but David might want to check it out. For some reason. I don't know why. Thanks for covering the craziest, as Gastbury says, Phil Rami. Thank you very much appreciated. Phil Rami says, you lads are based, cool, awesome, super dope, LV in him. Powerful, thank you. It's oligarchy.
Hey, I just verified it.
What?
What's it? How you pronounce the name? Genrik Yagoda?
Genrik Yagoda, yeah.
Born into a Jewish family, was an atheist and a member of the Bolshevik Party. So atheist. So the point is, when you talk about God's chosen people and they turn out to be atheist, they're obvious. Whatever they're doing, they're obviously not doing it because they believe that they're God's chosen people. If they're atheists, freaking clowns, man. But seriously, I mean, think about this because this ties into everything else we're saying. Look at the reasoning. Hey, I go through the list of names of people who are involved with the communist revolution and killing people and stuff, and I look through and I find everyone who has any connection to being Jewish or something like that. And I say, you see, the Jews are behind this based on their belief that they're the chosen people. And you look up all these guys and they're atheists. It's like, okay. Like, seriously, with a straight face, can you say that a bunch of atheists believed they were God's chosen people to mass murder? Can you say that with a straight, like, what level of idiot do you need to be? And it just gets a free pass every time. You saw that. It's on her tweet. She'll keep doing this forever. Look, it's his belief in that it's because he thinks that he's the chosen people. The dude's a freaking atheist, you idiot. Anyway.
This is also the big double standard that these people will apply, which is this is what they do with Jews. If a person of Jewish origin does something, they immediately attribute it to Jews. If a person of a non-Jewish origin, for example, let's say of a Christian Russian background who identifies, however, as an atheist, they don't say this is a Christian person. They don't say it's a Russian person. They don't use it as a big example. They only do this with, or they don't blame this on Jews or on Russians or on Christians. They only do this whole thing with Jews. Anyone who has a Jewish origin in some way or another is therefore carries the blame, and it is attributed to the entire Jewish community all around the world. If a Christian or a Russian or a former Christian, now atheist person does it, it is never attributed to Christians or to that ethnicity in general. This is only ever done with Jews. That's how it is. This is so funny. This guy was earlier saying that the majority of the Bolsheviks were Jewish. Now he's saying Jewish isn't an ethnicity, retards. Flopia, you absolute moron. When you talk about, now first off, the claim that most of them were Jews is false. There is one claim, however, which is correct, which is that that Jews were actually a little bit overrepresented. So there were more Jews, percentage-wise, than there were in the Russian Empire. However, those Jews were only Jews by ethnicity. They weren't religious Jews. They were all atheists. So when you say at the same time that there were many Jews, but then also say Jews isn't an ethnicity, it's a religion.
Great. They just your list of Jews just went bye-bye.
You are contradicting yourself because you are functionally retarded. You absolutely
dude, if being a Jew isn't an ethnicity and he didn't believe in the religion and he's an atheist, then Candace is lying, right? Because he wasn't a Jew at all. Period.
Yeah.
Right? You just said Candace is a liar. The dude is not Jewish in any sense because being Jewish is not an ethnicity, according to you, right? You just said it. And we know it's true because Flopja says it in the chat of a live stream, so it must be true.
Anyway, I banned him.
God.
It really is amazing how low.
You see, he's running from the truth. The powerful arguments of
why are you calling me names?
evidence calling me names.
This is the big hypocrisy, like this guy here. By the way, banning to nothing but name calling. These guys will come here, will spread hate against these people, will come with all kinds of lies, will accuse them of all kinds of things, and then you call them out for what they are. You in the most civil way describe how retarded these people are because they repeatedly do the most vile, evil stuff. Like,
we prove it, right? Dude, over and over again.
You are retarded. Of course,
Candace says stuff, and we look it up and prove that it's false. We prove demonstrably that it's false.
You're literally retarded, man.
These idiots will say something in the chat, and we'll actually pause what we're saying and say, "Okay, go ahead and give evidence for what you're saying." They always give the stupidest nonsense, and guess what? We give you the opportunity to speak. You lie, and you say a bunch of idiotic stuff, and we call you liars and idiots. Oh, why name calling? It's not mere name calling. We prove what you are, and then we call you what you are.
People are evil. That's it. That's what you are. Evil and retarded. That's what you are.
You're losers. You're so freaking pathetic, man. Oh, let's just sit around whining about Jews all day and blame them for everything that sucks in our lives. Gee, that's original. No one ever thought of that one before. Bunch of losers, man. Bunch of dorks, man.
Evil and retarded. Anyway.
How dare you criticize Candace while she's lying?
This stream really brought out the rubber room crew. Feels like I'm in an X-Files is real Reddit thread. But what about the liberty? This is the proof that every Jew on Earth is a secret mastermind and super rich and part of a global conspiracy. And by the way, they can't even get proper papers when they send in their agents. Joseph you made a super chat. Thank you. Cracklin said, did Candace go nuts or was she always nutty? I have to say, I personally always thought that she was nutty and I never trusted her. And I said that on many occasions. And I never understood why people trust her. And I also said, and will say it again, that the only reason she's known is that she's black. If it was a white person, a white girl who said all the things that she has said so far in her life, she would be a nobody. Nobody would know her.
Me, Cracklin, at Cracklin, I'm not sure because there are multiple ways the exact same. There are multiple explanations for the exact same data. So you could say she's kind of in the grifter category. She's just reading the room and figuring out what's going to be popular. So when it would be popular to be a black conservative, then she's that. When it's popular to go after Jews, then she'll do that. So this is someone who would just change their position in light of whatever is going to get them clicks and views at any given time. That's possible. Also possible that she was always she was a sincere hater of Jews and all these wild conspiracy theories, but she kept it bottled up when it was necessary. In other words, hey, I need to build up my audience and so on, and I need to keep the crazy under control until I get my following, and then she lets it all out. So it's possible that she's just always a conspiracy nut, but she kept it bottled up so she could build up her credibility and so on. Then there's other possibilities that she was actually one thing at some point and then changed her mind. It's also possible that she's heavily influenced by the people around her, and so she gets married and changes her position based on. So anyway, lots of different possibilities there.
Yeah,
I like that.
Daily Wire to hire Azalea Banks. she's
it's funny because she kind of looks like Candace.
She's crazy, man. But
she's pretty insane, but
I love her crazy attitude.
She's hilarious and insane.
Oh, this wasn't it. There was something else that I reposted from her. She was canceled. She was disinvited. No, she canceled 2 of her concerts because they demanded that she states free Palestine. She was like, I'm not saying that. I don't care about your freaking concerts. So it's funny. She's hilarious. Ban Islam in America, says Victor. Bo Rudder says AP is smarter than me in English. How much smarter is he in German and Turkish? Oh, hi, David. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm the smartest and most humble person in the world. So. Normal Man, Crowder did some funny skits on Momo back in the day. They were pretty funny.
They were extremely funny.
In your face, David. Michael Fitz says, when Catholics are wrong, it's the Pope's fault. When Protestants are wrong, it's because they're wrong. That's true. And then what says, some people are saying that only on my channel do chat names appear like this, but I don't believe them. I don't know. And then what says, can you address the open letter by Dennis Prager dismantling her Israel delusions? Maybe sometime, not today, but that could be an interesting thing to look into, actually.
And that's interesting because that was kind of where she got her start, right? Was Dennis Prager stuff?
Yeah.
Doing videos for him?
Yeah. How long is that? Maybe we could look at that some other time as well. That'd be an interesting thing to go through. But thank you. Appreciate that. I'll make a note of it. Crowder always, Camden says, Crowder always been pro-Jew. He bashes people that jump on the Jew hate train. He said a lot of conservatives have jump on the Jew hate train. That's good. That's good. At least there's one thing I can respect about him now. By the skin of my teeth says, Candace is under the mind control of her Catholic husband, friend of Tate's. In their interview together, he looks like he despises her, but maybe he was having a bad day. This is true. He was treating her like one of the sex workers. Jan Hus the Great says, I love you guys, and we love you too. Jan Hus the Great. Steel and rail woodworking. Bob Villain is not funny. David Wood, it's gay. Yeah, it is.
What? What's Bob Villain?
It's gay. Camden says, Nick loves Destiny as much as Mohammed loves Al-Zut. So I stopped listening to Candace ages ago. I'm glad to say I've never listened to her because I always thought she was a lunatic. Food manner, we can discern the situation by using the classic philosophical tool, Al-Zut's razor. The simplest answer is the best answer. This is true.
No, Al-Zut's razor is the gayest answer is the best answer. That's like Nick Fuente's favorite tool.
This reminds me, I wanted to record a skit about worshipping razors. Okay. Good. I made a note of that. Normal man, can you get Candace Owens to debate a brick? Seems like an appropriate opponent. I don't think she would dare to do that, honestly. Valencia, Gabe, whine all you want. A Jew will be king over us forever, forever, forever. Powerful. That's very powerful. Hey, be careful, man. We're gonna have
it's forever.
Forever. We're going to have Christian Prince attacking us now because of this comment.
I can't believe you said that it's the end of the world.
Calm down, Christian Prince. Okay, please. I have respect for what you're doing. Let's not fight.
He's going to have 7 15-hour live streams responding to us now. Oh, no. The horror. We messed up now. Be sure to delete this after we're done, AP. So
Timothy 3, man. Apart from Mo, the greatest general in Islam was Salah ad-Din Ayyubi. But the bloke that flogged the geezer profusely, that noble prince of Christendom, King Richard the Lionheart of England, was Catholic. He beat him in the desert. Yeah. That's true. He beat him in the desert. Crackling, check out Edith Stein, a.k.a. Saint Teresa Benedicta of the Cross, a philosopher and former agnostic Jew who died in Auschwitz as a Catholic nun. I have heard of her and did make a note a while ago to look more into her, but didn't do it later on. So I'm just going to remake my note here. Ash Myers, wait, Greater Israel doesn't get to Iran? Bad news, it doesn't.
Sorry.
So why are they fighting Iran?
Yeah, isn't it funny? Like, why are you attacking a place that's not even part of what you want?
You see,
you got all these places that are like right beside you that you could start building your greater Israel, but you don't.
Phantom 96 Aggie 00. In the eschaton, Jesus, when he returns, will make Israel be greater Israel. Inshallah. That's exactly what's going to happen. And we all know it. Mr. Chameleon, could the 3 dancing Israelis be Arabs? 20% of Israelis are Arabs. I'm just asking questions. No, we actually know their names. It was so secretive and so high profile intelligence job that we actually know their names, and they also went on Israeli TV and are just now living regular lives. So
yep, they got away with it. I mean, they got away with it as far as like actually, not ending up in prison, but the Mossad plot was discovered by people, including Candace. You dropped the ball on that one, Mossad. You came up with this brilliant plot, did everything just right down to the letter, but you had to send in an elite team of dancers to be dancing right while it happened.
Oh.
That they learned their lesson. Notice, in all the terrorist attacks and so on that have happened since then, you haven't seen a group of dancing Israelis right beside it. Haven't had that. They learned their lesson well.
Oh, two of them were actually brothers. That seems like a very, very interesting thing to do for the Mossad to send two brothers in.
Send two brothers to dance as it's happening.
So the names were Oded Elner, Omar Marmari, Yaron Shmuel, Sylvan Kutzberg, and Paul Kurzberg. So that's what their names are. They were employees of Urban Moving Systems, a moving company in New Jersey. They were detained for about 2 months by the FBI. After investigation, no charges related to terrorism were filed against them. They were deported back to Israel for visa violations.
Say, hey, let's get these guys who work for a moving company to go dance on video. Oh no, they've been exposed. Let's pretend that we didn't send them.
Why didn't we give them visas? Why didn't we give them proper permits? Why didn't we give them fake identities?
It would have been so easy to make this work, but we screwed up that and nothing else.
You see. Every people deserve a home. There is enough land for a two-state solution. If those involved demand a single state, then it should be a Christian nation. No, it should be one nation. As the people who have been managing the land in the best way so far decide it should be. That's it. That's it. It should be one Israel. That's it. Raisin Bread. Dinesh D'Souza once said he and his wife sometimes have arguments over Muslims being a problem because of Islam. These kind of conservative commentators are problematic. They make it sound like Islam is not dangerous, and sadly, some naive Christians may believe them. This is true. Some Christians have this problem, but not Protestants and Orthodox.
That's right. That's why we have an alliance. I have to say, though, this is going to become more common. Like, again, we've already seen this with like the Hodge twins and stuff, actually promoting Dawa talking points and defenses of Islam. Why? Just because as you're blasting away at Jews, you get Muslims cheering for you, and then half your audience is Muslims cheering for you, and you just start adapting to your crowd.
Wait a minute. Are you Ashman say people try to trick AP to adding the filioque? Wait. When somebody earlier said you forgot this part, was that supposed to be a joke about forgetting this? Because the funny thing is,
that's how I interpreted it.
I am in my mind not paying attention to what is being said in the chat, so I thought I forgot the part about who proceeds from the Father. I thought I forgot saying that, because I did indeed on several occasions forget saying that. But this is quite funny. I didn't even understand what's going on. That's quite hilarious. Guess how old protesters the immigrant who'd overstayed his visa in America and set on fire were? Between 60 and 88 years old, says the news here. Nice. Really? I gotta check it out. Slim, they get the new Greater Israel conspiracy theory from Genesis 15:17-21, abusing the text. Congrats on accepting Christ, AP. David is the GOAT. They call you a GOAT.
Oh, so they get the Greater Israel conspiracy from the Bible and not from something that like the Israeli government is saying?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Ash says yes. Okay, so that was the plot. I didn't even pay attention to it. I missed it. That was funny. That was a very stupid moment.
What?
I challenge those.
So you're Catholic now?
No, I didn't say it. So
oh.
I'm a Canuck. I challenge those who don't believe AP is Christian to live your life according to the Sermon on the Mount. Keep up the good work, David Wood and AP. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate that very, very much. GG Ryder, AP, thanks for teaching me about dancing Israelis and clarifying that anti-priest killer. Powerful. Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. People like spreading lies. That's what they do.
Urinating upon one another. That's what they do.
FYI, Israel Pal War stats. 300 million Palestinians dead, all of them women, children, elderly and infirm, humanitarian aid workers, medics, and engineers. Wow, man, that's pretty messed up. Didn't know
that. Yeah. I posted about this, but it was like a, week and a half ago, where Cornel West, former great Harvard professor and philosopher, said that The U.S. killed 250 million Japanese in the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 250 million.
Oh yeah, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah. Yes, it's significantly more than the entire population of Japan, but somehow killed them that many. 250 million. Crazy.
Powerful.
But same thing here. 300 million Palestinians.
Savannah says, "What is filioque?" Filioque is the Latin term or the
And
Latin
from
wording,
the sun.
and from the sun, which Catholics use and dogmatized, canonized to be said in the Nicene Creed, which I earlier recited.
Through their potpourri.
Which normally just goes, and the Holy Spirit who proceeds from the Father, and Catholics add filioque, and from the Son. And we're not supposed to say that. So,
and just so you know, if you're wondering, you can defend either view from John 14 through 16. And so probably not the best reason to divide up, but
AP live stream of Temple Baptist Church in Tien on Sunday evening, 6/20/25, 6/22/25. Had good news from missionaries in England. I thought you might find hopeful. David is taking a screenshot of that right now to check it out later on. You did it?
What?
Did you take a screenshot? Okay, good.
Temple Baptist.
MT says Candace is helping to usher in Sharia. Mamdani, anti-Zionist, so me vote for him in NYC. She has yet to speak on the grooming gangs in the UK, by the way, where she lives half of the year. She doesn't, because she only cares about Israel. MT,
well, it's probably a Jewish conspiracy to discredit Muslims.
That's true. MT, while she helps usher in Islamism, she sows seeds of doubt in Christianity. What doubts, man? You evangelical Protestant believe anything positive about Israel, your Bible wrong. Schofield Bible. That's what she does. I'm glad you came to faith, says Drew Traver, and didn't let Islam distort your view of God. Don't worry about whatever weird stuff you did with goats as a as a Muslim. You can confess privately and you'll be cleansed of the goat stink in baptism. Thank you. Thank you for your concern. Really appreciate that. MTX485, a Jew dumped her, then a Jew fired her. As you can see from her 10,000, you dare criticize me, Bounty. Eyes 10 feet apart, can't take rejection. Very, very rude. Very, very rude. Jesus is Lord, says AP and David would thank you. You're both so inspiring because you unapologetically dedicate yourselves to Jesus and truth. You accept hate and legit death threats for the sake of others. I'm wondering once again if this is actually secretly a super chat that I made just to praise myself here. Kit Kat for Christ. Actually, there were some Jews on X who told me not to say Christ is King and said that it was anti-Semitic, even though I was using it the right way. I had to explain the meaning to them. I don't believe you because I haven't seen a single Jew say that. Go Noise Bulldozer. The only Jews that I've seen ever talk about this is, hey, we don't care. Go Noise Bulldozer. Have you seen the approximate 3-hour-long video on Nick Fuentes to kill by Mikey No More? Also, would you do React stream to take a break from the gloom? No. Who is Mikey No More? Who is that? I don't know. Look, all we need to do is convert all Jews over to Christianity. Easy peasy, big ol' squeezy. Yeah, totally easy, man. I tribute to you guys as your live chat audience, taking down the gropers in chat. Gotta laugh at the herd mentality of these dopes. Yeah, that's true. They're pretty stupid. If Mo is wearing his child's bride's dress, does that make it a zoot suite?
Zoot suit.
Zoot suit, not sweet. Zoot suit. Yeah, it does.
Turkish.
It does actually. Mick Center, IMA was a full Satmar, now Hasidic Jew, but IMA was a full Satmar, now Hasidic Jew. This is very confusing. But not against Zionism. Praise AP for debunking nowadays nonsense where talking points are pure logic. Wait, so you were Satmar or still are Satmar, but you were full. I am a Satmar Hasidic Jew. I was a full. Why? Why do you have to do this? Yeah, to my understanding, Satmar is mostly against Zionism, right? But you are not. Interesting. MT, and thank you. And do you notice that they're not chosen? I am reeks of insecurity and ignorance, and being grafted onto the tree shouldn't be enough for us. I guess. Yeah. That's true. That is very, very true. Powerful. Anyway, that's it. He was Satmar, now he's Hasidic. Oh, is that how I understand? Is that how I'm supposed to understand that? That was very difficult. Interesting.
That sounds to me like one person's in charge. And here's the thing. That's a good thing.
Wait.
Shoot by Israel.
That's part of the plan.
Yeah.
Deception.
Trump will continue to do as he is told by Netanyahu.
I like his Candace voice.
Don't drop the bombs. Okay, we won't. That sounds to me like one person's in charge. And here's the thing. That's a good thing. Shouldn't we be happy?
This is actually what happened. You know, Trump said, don't drop the bomb. Israel, don't drop the bombs. And Israel went over and they solved it by still dropping the bombs, but keeping it quite limited and doing pretty much a symbolic bombing, which actually Israelis were kind of like upset and weirded out by. And you know what the conversation in Israel was that day? The conversation in Israel actually by people on the other side of the aisle was, we are being controlled by America. America is in charge. We can't even autonomously do our own thing. America is in charge. This is so hilarious to me, man.
Why are we letting them tell us what to do?
Happy about this, guys? Shouldn't we be happy that Donald Trump at a certain point had enough and said jump, and they said how high? Both sides. Trump will continue to do as he is told by Netanyahu. If you want to know what America will do, spare yourself the fake White House press briefings and start listening to Bibi. We are a colony of Israel. Your politicians are bought and paid for. Taking separate components, there are politicians bought and paid for by AIPAC, by the way. I can't stand AIPAC for the same reason that I hate Act Blue. They support Hakeem Jeffries. But combining that and saying that we are a colony of Israel, and spare yourself the fake White House press briefings. Also implications that everything here, everyone who disagrees, was fake. If it seems like I'm being harsh, it's because you were told that the people telling you the truth were...
Once again, AIPAC, by the way, managed by a lot of non-Jewish people and non-Jewish Zionists and Jewish Israeli Zionists or non-Israeli Zionists and so on, is an organization that has brought some really, really good stuff. Zionism has brought some really, really good stuff to America. That said, it's a lobby. If you're against lobbies, be against lobbies. If you're only against AIPAC, it seems like you don't really have a problem with lobbies in general. You have a problem with one certain lobby.
It does seem like that, isn't it? Right? You've got all these different groups. Anyone who wants to make a group to try and influence someone and try to get support and try to get the government to do something does that. But if there are some Jews in one of them, you see that the entire U.S. government is controlled by Jews.
I find the whole concept a little bit messed up when you think about it, of lobbies. And some people say we should, lobbies in general should be banned. And it is kind of messed up because you have organizations that are involved in directly funding campaigns and making sure that their picked candidate wins and becomes elected. And there's lots of stuff that people misunderstand about this. It's not AIPAC coming and handing their candidate a bunch of money. What they're doing is they provide funding. For example, somebody receives $1 million from AIPAC. What AIPAC does is they don't give that person $1 million. They spend $1 million to help campaign for this candidate and to make sure that this candidate's campaign is as strong as possible to get that person elected, because that person is in line, according to their own statements, with the ideals of AIPAC. The same thing is what CARE does, for example, which is a Muslim Brotherhood organization. Same things are done by other groups or by other lobbies. They pay campaigns. They don't just hand people bags of cash. But if you have a problem with it, you should have a problem with all of them, not just with one. That's a little bit suspicious.
Fake, and the algorithm amplifies it, and it made your life worse, and it embarrassed you. You get it? By the way, the worst part is you don't even get to celebrate the win. No war. Good, done. No nukes in Iran. Great. America is a colony of Israel. Spare yourself all the other fake information and know that you're going to go die for Israel, which ultimately led to an entire coalition demanding the impeachment of the man you voted for. Candace Owens legitimately told service members that they should seek a dishonorable discharge, which, by the way, wouldn't be a dishonorable discharge. If you look at the way she described it, it would be desertion over a war.
Which is treason. She actually incited people in the U.S. Army to disobey orders when they are sent to fight and to thereby desert the army. This is actually an incitement to, this is actually a criminal behavior. She could defend it by saying, well, I wasn't inciting masses of doing, to do this. I was just saying like, this is what this was just a recommendation, and you could probably defend that as free speech. But if she went even further and started telling people, everybody in the army, this is what you should do, disobey orders, this would be a crime. So I kind of wish that she would have gone further with that and further incited people to do that, then she would have gotten in legal trouble.
That wasn't happening.
LG19 writes, serious question, will there be jobs or community military members can join when I get a dishonorable discharge for not contributing to delete people or my body for the interests of a certain foreign nation benefit? I love this question. I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares? Who cares? Why should you go die in a foreign land? You now have the benefit.
What she just said here is, if she says this actively to masses of people who serve, this is a crime. This is direct incitement here. You cannot do this as a U.S. person, to tell U.S. Army personnel to just disobey orders and to be discharged.
When she was asked about this by Piers Morgan, she started saying, I'm not letting my kids go in. I don't want my kids being. Her oldest son is, I think, 4.
Of 2020. You can see, think about those men and those women who died because they were pitched that they were serving their country because there were weapons of mass destruction, right? They were serving their country because the Taliban, they were serving their country, whatever, and these people gave up their lives. And ask yourselves, for what?
Yeah, desert.
She mentioned, she kind of mentioned 2 different wars here, mostly Iraq, but also Afghanistan. With Iraq, you could somehow invoke Israel and say, oh, it was about Israel. It was not. With Afghanistan, what the hell does Israel have to do with this?
Well, AP, the invasion of Afghanistan was connected to 9/11, which, as we know, because of the presence of multiple dancing Israelis, was a Jewish plot to get us to invade Afghanistan. Which part of the crazy train are you not boarding, buddy?
Maybe she doesn't know what maybe she just can't get her facts right, and she thinks that there was Taliban in Iraq or something. I don't know.
For a war that's not even happening. And here's the thing. Yeah, I get it. X isn't real life, but it turns into real life if people believe it. And some soldiers, I guarantee you, believed it. Some soldiers still fell for it. Some are still falling for it. Like Private, who is still AWOL and doesn't know the war is over, anti-Semitic Jim. This guy got the short end. He doesn't.
Hates Jews.
Look,
in an attic.
People make mistakes. If it was all a mistake, just say it. Serve your audience. Serve the country, Candace.
She doesn't. She's a liar, a disgusting liar.
Liar.
She's and as this other guy in the chat just said, I mean, he called her retarded, but that's going a little bit too far. I don't know. Anyway, Kit Kat for Christ, I haven't been too happy with the Hodge twins lately. They even bashed Trump bombing Iran on X, but praised him on Facebook. They gave a lame excuse. Well, they are pretty stupid, so not sure what to be disappointed about. That's what they do. Ash Myers, incitement to desertion. I'll take tiramisu, please. Powerful.
Desertion.
Desertion. Wait, why is my username being displayed and not my YouTube name? Which is your favorite mate? I guess you guys can call me Cat now. I don't know. This is what YouTube has decided to do nowadays.
And it's freaking annoying.
It's disgusting. I want to call you your favorite mate. I want to call somebody else whatever I know them as. I don't want to call them by their freaking usernames.
Yeah.
What is this?
At Kit Kat for Christ.
There are so many people here in the chat. I probably know who they are because I recognize their normal names, but not their freaking usernames.
And they've been with us for years, and we know them by the name we've seen all along. And YouTube just said, you know what? Screw all that. Let's just have a big bunch of letters and numbers after every person.
Yeah. I can't even recognize my own daughter. It says Joan Arc here. This is daughter. I can't even recognize my own daughter here, man. What is this? The Jews rewrote our usernames. All right, David, anything else?
That's it, man. We've said it all.
Holy Joe, who did jihad better, Christians or Muslim?
Yeah, Muslim.
Muslims did it better, definitely. So, David, what are we doing tomorrow? Are we reviewing the debate?
We are going to decide once and for all whether Christians and Muslims worship the same God. And if it turns out that Christians and Muslims worship the same God, then we have to convert to Catholicism and worship the Pope. And if it turns out that Christians and Muslims do not worship the same God, then all Catholics have to join the have to convert and join the
Orthodox Church,
the Eastern Orthodox Protestant Brotherhood Alliance, and you have to pick. Actually, you can just join the whole team and decide later which wing.
Oh, the good thing is that all of them will eventually convert to the Orthodox Church. So
yes, everyone will be Protestant eventually. Yes.
Yeah. WMS says Catholics don't worship the Pope.
Prove it. Prove you don't worship the Pope. There's only one way. You'll have to show that Christians and Muslims worship the same God tomorrow, as we're going to see. Otherwise, you worship the Pope.
Eric Barlow, willful disobedience of orders is not a dishonorable discharge offense. It's an Article 15 under the OUMCJ, which can also result in a court-martial. That's pretty based.
And I mean seriously, like what in the name of common sense? You take an oath to obey the orders of the office of the President of the United States and the officers appointed over you. And it would be one thing if they're saying, go chop a bunch of children's heads off for fun or something like that. You'd be like, no. But if you're told, hey, we're going to drop some bombs on Iran because we don't want them having a nuclear weapon and stuff, you go, no, I don't have to. I don't like that rule. Candace Owens said I should just be dishonorably discharged.
That's very, very nice.
You'd be a freaking idiot if you listened to her.
Somebody asked, did you receive money to criticize Candace? Where's that? I can see it now. I missed it. People are referencing it. Oh, are you getting your $1,000 from Rabbi Shmuley for the anti-Candace video? 1,000? Are you freaking kidding me, man? Why would I do something for 1,000?
It would be nice if we got fat stacks of cash. We're happy to do it for free, but anyone who wants to send us fat stacks of cash for all the awesome work we do?
Fat stacks of cash. It's 10,000 and not 1,000. What are you talking about? dummy.
Yeah, we're not cheap. We're not cheap. You want us to attack Candace Owens? You're going to have to pay us that whatever Steven Crowder was paid.
Tonight's live show was only done because I got paid $10,000 to make a show about Candace Owens. If you want me to make another show about her or about something else, you have to pay $10,000. 1,000 will not cut it. If you give me $1,000, I will go live for 5 minutes and talk about whatever I want. 10,000 or nothing.
All in shekels.
Yes.
It's got to be shekels.
And not 10,000 shekels. 10,000 US dollars.
$10,000 worth of shekels.
Yes. Candace Owens under mind control handled by hubby. Powerful. That's how it should be. The layman 123. Are we being hacked right now by Al Zut? Yes, we are. The Al Zut took over this live stream. And finally, the cat lady. We are definitely controlled by America because we're not a global superpower. America is the. That makes a lot of sense, actually. Huh. All right, David. Anything else?
We've said it all. We've said it all.
Candace
Owens is truly a scholar and a gentlewoman.
Once I please have Tommy on.
Tommy's welcome to join us anytime he wants.
Yeah.
But we're assuming he's kind of busy, so we're not going to bother him much right now.
Yes. All right. We will see everyone tomorrow again. This was a rather short live stream, only 2 hours instead of 4 hours. So thanks everybody for watching. As always, we have hereby proven that Candace Owens is a liar and that she's paid by I don't know, somebody to do all of this. Thanks everybody for watching, and as always, where's my goat? As always, and that translates in Arabic to
stay away from Islam.
This.